Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Swimmer Sync 184. We are on another week, another Wednesday of the Swimmer Sync. It is I, Mad Gamer the Second. I am joined by the lovely Part 2. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I've somehow managed to stumble my way back in here. They keep leaving the door open. I don't know why. Uh, but yeah, I'm here for some good old fashioned Splatoon gaming.
Heck yeah, we love to see it. Now, we were just taking a look at the map modes for the group stages, and man, I am happy. I'm just loving the lineup we got here. I know with like SOS, like the format we run is like it's double zones for every round and like one other mode. So, I think, and then it's like best of three if I remember correctly. So, not the play of three from the past.
Yes, I believe we're doing best of three, and it is going to be quite an interesting set of maps that we've got lined up here right now. No, and my train of thought's gone. All right, we're off to a great start today.
Literally just happened to be like 2 seconds ago. It's just going to be one of those nights, but we're going to roll with it. I'm looking at the. I was gonna say I'm looking at the teams that we have up next. I am very confused. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. So we
Okay,
have
yeah.
Renegades versus. Oh, what's the other team?
Abyss Angels.
Abyss Angels. There we go. Yes. Yeah, and we're going to be starting out on Mahi Zones. I love Mahi Zones. I know that was one of those like kind of controversial maps until they revamped it, but I know I got a couple of people who are like OG Mahi lovers. So it's great to see it like become one of like the at least for Zones, just one of the more popular map modes.
Yeah, it's definitely still a very cramped map, at least before the water drops, but after it does, and it usually doesn't take that long for it to do so, it ends up becoming like such a really interesting map, the way that it ends up opening up these alternate paths, introducing a whole bunch of more high ground onto the map. It becomes really dynamic and really favors like scrappy fights, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, I know, like you said, like because it gets so tight in that first half of the match with the water level so high, you do get a lot more of those scrappy fights. And I think like that's almost the key right there. If you're able to hold it for that portion of time, like get yourself that nice little lead, is like you're gonna have a lot more room to work with once it does drop lower, and then you can kind of work off of that because that opens up more opportunities for the other team, the attacking team, to get back in the zone. I feel like just because like they have more avenues to get at it from around the sides.
Yeah, absolutely. That's to say though that that long-range weapons can still excel on this map perfectly fine. Obviously, the heavy edit
Mhm.
has no trouble adapting to this sort of environment, this sort of more scrappy fighting. They don't have to play to their maximum range nearly as often in order to be effective. And even stuff like your pencils, your e-liters can still find some pretty nasty sightlines to oppress with just how much pressure they can put out with from that distance. And since the zone is so small, the paint that they do put out onto it is pretty significant.
Exactly. Now, I love actually because Mahi Zone is one of those few map modes where you see like the Explo mains coming out. Explo, like custom Explo, has like a nice niche here because it has, like you said, some of the same sight lines that like chargers and pencils have, but they also are able to kind of get underneath, get some of those ledge and awkward angles that are able to get around some of that cover that a lot of those other backlines tend to hide behind, and then just between that and the splashdown on the zone, it does have a lot of pressure that it can continue to output depending on the team comp. So it's not as common that you do have like a few souls who are still running with it, but it is really fun to watch when it does get picked for this map.
It absolutely can work out in the Explo player's favor because of the fact that it is able to hit around cover in a way that not too many other weapon classes can. Like, you see sloshers and blasters being picked on this map fairly frequently, I would
Hmm.
imagine. So it's kind of a similar theory there. Plus, with the custom Explo in particular, you have the triple splashdown that I believe, like, especially with the paint buff it recently got, is able to flip the zone in one fell swoop if you position it correctly. But again, because there's not so much room for you to move away, getting caught in a splashdown is really easy on this map. So it definitely gets a little bit better because of the map it's on.
That's true, and honestly, I completely forgot about the splash down buff. Like you're so right. Like just that has kind of amplified its space or its pressure that it has on this memo. So again, is not very likely to see it come out, but it's still a lot of fun to watch when it does get picked. I think like you were mentioning like buckets and blasters, like those are definitely a lot more common picks, especially like the V bucket and like the S blast are pretty popular right now. So like those definitely excel quite a bit because once they're on the like it's hard to kind of break in within its open space, but when you're on like hold control the zone and you're able to defend it, like they do have a lot of good holds underneath those ledges that you can see them use. And then just like I think the biggest thing is just the lockout potential on this map is so high, and so once they're like able to get past even that first ledge is like it makes it very difficult, and you have to spend a lot of resources just to kind of push them out, you know. But looks like we're gonna be hopping right into it.
Yeah, we'll see what we've got. We've got a blaster. We've got an edit. Is that a recycled Brella that I just saw?
Oh my goodness, it is. Okay, I'm trying to recall. It is going to be the bubble recycle umbrella, not the splashdown recycle, but still, bubble on zones is still really powerful. And I think, like, you know, when we get into these open areas and the tight spaces, having a bubble just kind of gives yourself, you build your own cover, basically. When you don't have enough natural cover, you just build your own. And that, like, you see the decap from the other side that's also going to be pulling that bubble out. So both teams really going to try to make good use of that here.
Both teams making use of it, but it's looking like it's going to be Abyss Angels coming out on top in this mid-fight, taking the lead and starting this push off proper. Renegades did briefly have the zone, but it looks like it immediately got capped back, so functionally nothing happened, and we're taking very close to the map changing down with the water level lowering.
And we do see Renegades in control of the zone. They have the lead. Zen right here doing an excellent job just waiting out the crowd, trying to stay out of their sight line, but they do get called out by the blaster. And speaking of blaster, we do see for like they're basically running no cooler on the side of Renegades. It's just they're having their backline being that the rapid pro deco there, and so that's going to have a lot of range and chip damage, kind of utilizes the best of both worlds there, but it is going to be lacking in the paint department, so it's going to rely quite a bit on the splash and the decap to kind of keep that up. Speaking of though, the decap getting a nice 2 in their bubble, so that's going to allow Renegades to push on up. That is just the edit remaining.
Renegades take back control. It's pretty close right now. Only a 10-point differential between the two teams without penalty considered. And we're going to be seeing Abyss Angels trying to get back in there. A Booyah Bomb likely going to be the thing that heralds the push, but the recycle going down and the S-Blast going down from the Slosher is going to end up stopping this push before it even starts. The Slosher taking more position. Cooler coming out from the edit to try and salvage the situation. Now that the bucket's down, it's going to be a tough one to get through, though.
Yeah, like we see here is like where the bucket try to push up, you know, like that's what I was talking before, like when you have kind of that ledge control, you have the opportunity to push up, but it requires a lot of speed because you're right on the doorstep of the enemy team respawning, and unfortunately the bucket wasn't quite able to get up there before they were spotted out, and so that just allowed that edit there and the recycle barrel to drop down, get the bubble up, and contest the zone. So they still have control of it, but we saw Renegades response. They took 2 down and is now still a 2v2. Renegades aren't able to cap the zone before they get too far with the lead, but they are still fighting it out in mid right now.
Gotta watch out for that. You gotta watch out for that Slosher going forward, and the splash apparently managing to catch a jump that is going to be pretty big right there. 2 go down on the side of Renegades, and now Abyss Angels now in control. They're going to try and see if they can catch up the splash, but the splash is just, Reborn is just on point right now, causing absolute havoc within the lines, opening up opportunities, forcing a bubble right into a tri-strike. It's looking pretty dicey for Abyss Angels' hold right now.
That was a very excellent strike. Just like we saw the bubble trying to get set up once again, but just completely zone them out. And now with the 3 down that they have here, they can just take all of that space that they were having trouble holding in Big 4. Now, they have that bubble online with the decav, 20 points of the penalty remaining, but they really don't need to get too aggressive. They just got to wait for Abyss Angels to kind of make a move and they can respond. We do see the bubbler getting popped right there, right as the crab gets popped, so that's going to be excellent counter and painting over the Booyah Bomb. They are just 10 points from the KO here, so as long as they're able to stay alive and continue paint going, they shouldn't have this in the bag, but it is being contested very very well right here, and then it is going to be Abyss Angels taking the zone just in the nick of time.
Key there was that the painting weapons on Renegades ended up going down, both the splash and the buckets going down, so you don't really have a ton of burst paint outside of your decav, and the decav's got to spend that burst paint wisely, especially since it's while it is a lot, it is very slow. And we're going to be seeing if Abyss Angels can hold long enough in order to swap the lead back. Only 30 seconds left. A beautiful Booyah Bomb getting 2 right now. That is going to be looking really good for Abyss Angels. They just need to hold for a few more seconds, taking out the Rapid, and it's looking like it might just be a knockout right then and there at the last second. Nice comeback.
I was like, that was literally the best Booyah in existence. It got the 2 down, but not more importantly, it destroyed that crab that was getting set up on the corner there. That was basically Renegades opening right there. But then with the 2 down with that Booyah Bomb, the last 2, they had to go for zone. With only 10 points remaining, they had to go for zone. And with 4 of Abyssal Angels on it, it was, they had the player event, and then the bubble just kind of sealed the deal there. Blaster was able to just shark around, get people through it. It made it really difficult for Renegades to come back after that. So Abyssal Angels will be taking the first match right there in a really clutch comeback there. Even though it felt like Renegades, they had control of that zone for the good portion of the beginning of the match, but just right at the end there, Abyssal Angels locked in or they'll take it.
That's all it takes. It takes just one big mistake like that, and just one good play, and all of a sudden momentum can completely shift in this game. It's honestly, it is incredible sometimes what these teams can manage to do. Because yeah, like you said, Renegades were in the driver's seat for the majority of the game, but Abyss Angels managed to clutch up. They managed to put the effort in where they needed it, and that Booyah Bomb, I really cannot get over just how clutch that Booyah Bomb was. Getting the double right as the push was coming in, you could not have timed that any better.
Absolutely, and again, it's just they had I think there's quite a few of Renegades in that corner there, and I think it's just a couple of them got trapped, weren't able to make it out in time. And I think that was just kind of they capitalized off of the fact of how grouped up they were. They didn't have enough people coming around to kind of get out of the way in time. So I think it'll be interesting to see, we saw the Recycle Umbrella with the bubbler in that last one, but just this synergy they had with that comp here going into Tower on Hagglefish is Renegade with the heavy the Rapid Deco, that can do what it lacks in splat zones. It almost is amplified in tower control.
It can be amplified, though. I will say I don't think Hagglefish is necessarily the best map for Killer Whale in particular. It's going to be it's still a pretty strong weapon to pick on a tower map, especially with the range value that it has. It is able to contest at range with AoE and actually kind of make the heavy at it sweat at the right time, though you really still can't go at it head on.
No, that is very true. And I think it's just I'm trying to think, with splat zones, we saw that Renegades, they got it down to 5, and then Abyssal Angels took it back, and they didn't have too many penalty points left, but it was that kind of push, being able to get it so far was that snowball effect. We'll that could come into the Renegades' favor, but at the same time, it's that they clutch comeback from Abyssal Angels. I think it's just being able to stay cool under pressure, just to be able to have the Booyah Bomb right at the moment they need it. I think that's kind of what flipped the tables right at the end there. But again, there's a lot of just the Recycle Umbrella itself, just you don't see that too often, even with the bubble. So will it stick around for tower control, or will they swap to something different? Because I feel they both of these teams have a pretty strong and balanced comp. They could potentially just copy paste right into the next match.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I don't necessarily feel as if like either comp can like necessarily needs to make the right change. There wasn't like an
Hmm.
idea that wasn't exactly coming together. It's like
Hmm.
maybe the Recycle Brella was like something of an experiment. It's game one. You can afford to take a loss on that one. And like it's not exactly a popular option, but like with the paint buff that it recently received, it's not nearly as much of a throw as it kind of used to be. I hate to call Recycle Brella a throw, but before its paint buff, it kind of was. It can now actually play around its bubble, and it's kind of okay at doing that now.
And I think like it is like it kind of fell into, or it falls into like with Explo is like is one of those weapons that is not as popular, but like in the right hands, like when you have someone who does like really go at it hard, just you can see some really good plays coming from that. And I think just like you said, just the paint buff helped it quite a bit, to do that. Uh, But again, just I think the one thing I'm trying to think, both of these teams they opted for the midline. The midline comp. They had a lot of range, they had a lot of space control. I think we saw the decaf coming out from Renegades and the S blast from yeah, it was decaf and the bucket from Renegades. But then on the other side, it was like they had the S blast and then that recycle umbrella for their midline. So it's just interesting, how that kind of like dynamic. Like neither team really is super aggro, but they're really good at keeping and holding space that they control.
It also shows with both of them opting for their short-range paint support being the Splash-O-Matic,
Hmm.
one that can turn into a crab tank to allow them to become like a sort of like secondary anchor whenever the heavy edit
Hmm.
needs to go in or whenever the rapid needs to take a more aggressive position. They end up with the ability to play a lot more flexibly that way. They do want to keep each other at arm's length, but when they go in, they want to have like that backbone, that solid
Hmm.
backbone when they do have that.
Exactly, exactly. It's just gonna be interesting because I know that like that both of these kind of comps like they do well for zones because you don't necessarily need to push too far past the objective. But I know with tower control, especially for Hacklefish's tower control, you have to have a certain level of like not necessarily aggression, but you have to be able to actively take space to prepare for the tower path, and like certainly when they have the resources, these team comps can do that. But at the same time, it's like maybe the decaf is the one exception, but they don't really have a like one player being the spear point of the whole team.
Mhm. It's looking like going into things where like just trying to feel each other out right now. No changes it looks like to either side. We're keeping that recycled Brella, seeing how it's going to go. Crab Tank coming out to try and break this stalemate real quick. The bucket ends up going down off on the flank, and the Brella falling not too long after. It's looking like it's slowly turning into Renegade's lead to start off, but it's kind of a very shaky one right now as there's a lot of trading, a lot of back and forth right now. It's a very slow push, but it is one that is currently in Renegade's favor, especially with that bubble securing a jump back to the tower.
And we saw like even with the one player down, Renegades was really starting to get aggressive. They were starting to push up. I think like the edit just holding the ground, getting the two into a trade, just kind of stalled that out. We do see like the ball pop was honestly getting popped really early here, but it does play into Abyss Angel's favor. They have 3 down off of Renegades. The only thing they really have to watch out for is this crab, which we see online. But here we go. It's going to be popped off the canopy right there. And it's going to take down the edit and possibly the S-Blast. We'll see if they're able to counter the Abyss Angels. No, it doesn't take out the crab, but it does knock them into the water. So that's going to be a delayed 3 down.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. We've all been there to just have the crab just like we all fall off the map sometimes. It's okay. But now it's going to be opening the opportunity for Renegades to push back. They have a Tri-Strike ready to throw and shred this bubble. Unfortunately, caught in the midst of a Booyah Bomb, but able to get out before it completely shreds the bucket. And with all that momentum, they managed to go forward, get 3, and now the first checkpoint is under siege with the Renegades pushed up very far up.
Oh, and this bucket getting a nice pick on the edit there. That's going to remove their cooler from the equation, but they do lose 2 of their own members in the process. But notably the decap going down, that's going to be their bubble out of the way. Reborn going to be popping crap, just kind of stall things out, and it does open things up for Jay on the bucket to get that nice splat there. And they're going to continue just keeping up the aggression. The push might be over, but just they are not giving up that space easily. And three more members of the Abyss Angels are going to be going down. You see Zen on the decap is already holding position in the top right, and with the strikes online from Jay, like that's going to be another checkpoint out of the way. Renegades are just rolling through this checkpoint.
Strikes are spent. We do seem to have a crab tank rolling right now. However, it's looking like Abyss Angels might be trying to get back right now. The S-Blast manages to send the tower back before the third checkpoint manages to get taken, but Renegades are still there. They're getting jumps. They're not being completely pushed out. There's no specials flying on either side at the moment. In fact, the bucket is close to getting one right now, which is likely going to allow them to go even further, especially with that pick on the recycle.
Oh, and the blaster going down is going to be huge. That's going to be a lot of the AoE able to relieve pressure off that tower. They still haven't gotten the third checkpoint just yet, but just Renegades are not letting off the gas pedal right now. They're continuing to put on pressure to Abyss Angels, keeping the tower in this space right here, like just looking for the opportunity, not getting too greedy, but just trying to find that opportunity to continue forward. But I think Abyss Angels are finally going to be getting a foothold here to push them out, just trying to find the last remaining members. Yay! Just sharking around this right side and get called out, but finally I think it's going to be the official end of that push.
For now, it will be. The Renegades are still going to try and keep the aggression up. There are flanks coming around on either side right now, trying to catch the Abyss Angels, trying to stop them from getting any momentum. Every second that they manage to burn is less time for the Abyss Angels to be able to get further. They still have 2 checkpoints to break before they can even threaten this lead that Renegades have. There's only a minute left. S-Blast up in prime position, trying to see if we can punish the bucket for dropping their strikes. They do, but it is still a slow push. There's still a long way to go, and we're burning the Booyah Bomb right now.
Yeah, the Booyah Bomb getting sent out like it was. Like, they're not going to have anything to kind of contest the 10 right there. We do see the Splash getting set up right there, painting things out, but the Crab is already putting pressure on that side, taking out Silly on the edit. But we do finally see that, the bubble, well, the bubble gone out. Was unfortunately, the tower did get reset for momentarily, but right as the bubble ran out, but Kaz is going to be trying to push up and just draw fire away from the tower, which is the rest of their team is going to be called out, and they're going to be jumping back and getting that wipeout in the last 10 seconds.
That might end up sealing the deal unless Abyss Angels can sprint across the entire length of the map, but I don't think it's likely. No one is riding the tower, so it's going to stay on Renegade's sides, sealing them the game and bringing us to a game 3.
Dang, see, that's kind of what I was thinking watching that last match. Like, although like Abyss Angel, they have the nice comeback at the end, Renegades just the way they're able to steam through the first half of the last match, like they brought all that momentum into this next game, and just like we saw, like they had control of the tower for such a long time. Just they kept stalling out Abyss Angel, not letting them kind of get back into mid. Like, even when they didn't have control of the tower, they just were keeping the space that they had. They were making sure that they didn't overextend too much. They wanted to just make sure that they had the control of the space, and then that just allowed them to keep control of the tower.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to reverse momentum like that with tower control, especially with the fact that the tower is always moving. It is the fact that after your push fails, the tower is stuck on the enemy side of the map, which means it's really hard to regain that momentum because of especially if the enemy is not looking to do another push. And in that situation, Renegades had no reason to push the tower forward. There was not enough time left for them to even think about a KO. So all they had to do was run out the clock, and because it was a wipeout, there was absolutely no way that Abyss Angels were going to be able to get back to the to control the tower and swap that lead.
No, you're exactly right there, and I think like because of how the tower control works, just even like when it was on that side of the map, it just almost extended the amount of time that it had to take to push that back, which is like all that time. Like even Renegades are just able to lock it down and keep things in their favor. It's interesting because how is that going to translate back over to, because we're going back into Splatoon, which we saw, like even though Renegades held it really effectively, it's still Abyss Angels was able to bring it back in the last second. I think like this will be one of those maps, like just how ship shape is, I guess designed. Like if Renegades is able to kind of keep control like they have in the last couple matches, that this will go in their favor. But it's like as soon as they lose that, it'll be really hard to break back in just because of that high ground that's around the zone.
Mm-hmm. One thing that is also worth keeping in mind is that ship shape is also a bit of a wider map than what we've seen so far. There is still a few choky areas of the map, but I usually end up seeing, but there's a lot more space to move around. If not like, if there aren't like too many alternate paths necessarily. Oh, we are getting even spicier. That is an L3D that I just saw there. First bomb
oh my
hammer.
gosh! Oh my gosh! Yeah, and that's like instead of like the cooler option, like that's gonna bring out the hammer burst bomb. It looks like the edit even swapped to Cram. Like they are running completely coolerless in this next one.
Yeah, rare to see that. Absolutely, we're going to be seeing Renegades come on in and try to see if they can establish their early lead as per usual. Right now, the numbers advantage is working out in their favor. We are playing Baller Crab Gaming right now as they crush one member of Renegades and manage to get a little bit of damage onto the decav. We're back in Splatoon 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, but that is going to be 3 down all for Renegades there. Like, even with the whales coming out, just Abyss Angels will see able to take control of the space and then also take control of the zone here. Like, this is kind of like the situation that I was afraid of for Renegades because, like, they have a lot of good space control, but how are they going to be able to break back in with Abyss in control? And we do see 3 of them going down immediately to them to that S-Blast. They're just locking them down off that corner here. Last member is going to have to back up, and they are regrouping here, but like time is ticking away, and just a lot of yellow paint on the map right now.
The forward hold, the crab going out, managing to get another pick. The tri-strike looking to see if they can try and open something up here. The decav managing to get a forward hold with the bubble. It's looking like Renegades are going to get back into position to try and contest this, but they don't have a lot of time. Only 20 seconds left. They do manage to swap the zone and stop themselves from being KO'd, but it's going to be a little bit of it's going to be a long time before they're able to match that.
Indeed. I think the penalties certainly could give them some time, but it's like they still got to break back in. They still got to be able to take that space, and just like we're seeing what Renegades was doing to Abyss Angels in the last match, but now the roles are reversed. Abyss Angels are keeping as much space as they can, but with 2-3 members down, now we're finally seeing Renegades able to push up and start getting into Abyss Angels spawn. And I think like, you know, especially with that range blaster just getting out those ledges, it's going to be hard for Abyss Angels to break back out after this.
Definitely, the bubble does go out trying to see if they can do anything, but the tri-strike ended up shredding most of it. A hammer is ready to go, but it's the only special that they're going to be able to throw out, and it immediately gets canceled. This is looking very good for Renegades, managing to stop the crab. Only the bucket manages to go down right now. The decav following slowly behind. We're down to 9, and it's really, really close, but it's looking like Abyss Angels are going to manage to get the wipeout and stop themselves from being KO'd. It is just big blow after big blow, and now it is going to be down to the wire for these last 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh, indeed. And I think like that is a good lead. Like I think Renegade has plenty of opportunity to break back in, but it's just like this is how we saw Abyss Angels run away with it in the last game. They were able to just like get this nice control and then get the Booyah Bomb. But I think like as long as Renegades are able to stay alive, as long as they're able to continue to mount this push, like we see they're taking control of the top right here, getting the bridge. A nice splash from Reborn is going to help that, but the S-Blast, once again, just cleaning up around these corners here, not letting them get the foothold they want, and we're down to 15 points here. Like, they got to make a move there, getting down to the wire here. Already seen the lead getting swapped. No specials online. Whale's going to get popped, but the strikes are going to come out. Not in the nick of time. However, Abyss Angels, once again, going to be taking game 3.
Not bad at all. Convincingly managing to get back control and hold it for just long enough. If the Renegades had just a little bit more time, they might have been able to stall that zone, but unfortunately their paint went down. They did not have the specials in order to break through, and it's looking like this first set is going to go to Abyss Angels. GG's from both teams.
GG's indeed, man. They certainly brought it down to the wire, up to the end. Like we talked about, like it being a best of three, but they still took it to that game three. Like they played it all the way to the end. But it's just, yeah, it's really fun to watch that. I'm trying to like break down, like, because we saw like the S Blast just doing a lot of work in that last match. I think like any, like, especially around that wall, just it was not safe for Renegades to push up while the S Blast was up. And even with like the crab and the bubbler getting popped out, just they couldn't find that splat or find that opening that they needed to get in. And so it continually, every time they would get to mid, Abyss Angels would just drop on them and just send them all the way back to spawn.
Yeah, it was always the ship shape is definitely one of those like tough lockout maps, even without the even without having cooler, which neither team ended up having in that game. You end up needing to like basically beat the enemy team twice in order to have a convincing hold, because of the fact that you are encouraged to push up so much on that map. It's a whole lot, absolutely. And it's hard to break past if you don't have like the right tools that you need in order to get that hold.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, once again, that's going to be Abyss Angels taking the first set right here. GG's to both of these teams. But that is going to be round one of SOS. We have 2 more to go. So in the meantime, we're going to be going to a short break. So stay tuned and stay hydrated, and we'll be right back.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to SOS. We are back in round 2 of the groups. It is I, Mad Gamer II. I am joined once again by part 2.
Hello, hello. We're going into our second round, and it's looking like we're going to be looking at Gaiā versus YYY. I assume that's how that's pronounced.
See, my first instinct was like it was wee, but I don't know if that's spelled the same way now that I'm thinking about it.
I mean, I'm trying to think about like what sort of pronunciation rules I'm going to be going with, but like if I'm seeing WI, I'm just like, is it we? Is it we?
It's the short form for Wisconsin there, triple Wisconsin.
I am being told that it is indeed we. Okay.
It's a meme where a cat is eating his food and he goes wee. Now the question is, do we have to say it with the French accent? Yes or no?
I'm going to elect not to, personally speaking. What's more pertinent is that it looks like we're going to be going on to Robo Ramen Splat Zones. I have yet to encounter someone who outright hates this map. I think this has been like one of the strongest maps that's been added to Splatoon 3, and I hardly think that's a controversial opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I think like you said, just everyone was super happy with how Robo Mama came out. Like it is, I think as most maps are, Zones is one of the few viable ones, but just like the overall map design is so good. I think it lends itself to a lot of balance, a lot of uniqueness that we kind of missed out on some of the newer maps. It's not as narrow or like a hallway-esque as some of the other ones are. It has a lot of nice flank routes and just lower areas you can get around. So it lends itself to some more variety of weapons to do well on it.
Yeah, it's one of those weapon maps where I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a particularly strong weapon class on this. There's some good places for backline weapons. There's good places for blasters or sloshers, anything that wants to like poke around ledges. If you want to do flanks, you've got your ink brushes, your like fast splatanas, like the wipers. You really can just kind of build whatever and have it work on Robo Ramen.
I'm trying to think here. So like I know. Oh gosh, the only the first thing that always comes to mind when I see Robo Ramen is just like the cheeky sprinkler spot right above the zone. Like that is like pencil player's #1 spot to put that sprinkler. It is so good. But it's like there are a bunch of other weapons that do excel on it. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I know that like we saw S-Blast in the last set right there. I think just any sort of blaster, once again, when you have any sort of kind of like difference in verticality, just the blasters really do well to kind of fight around those corners and those ledges.
You want to know what's a weapon that I would actually really like to see, because I think it is particularly effective on Ramen? It is a Dread Ringer, and it looks like we're loading it right now. We're going to see if we're going to see it, because Reef Slider is, I think, one of the stronger specials. I think it is quite strong on this map. Are we going to be seeing it? It is looking like not quite, but we are seeing a mini. That is that's not something I've seen in a while.
I was gonna say, yeah, that is a very rare pick. I think like it's gonna be bringing out the hammer. I almost thought for a second that we had double hammer with the Wellstream, but they're gonna be running the points, or not the points, the Wavebreaker one instead. Which honestly, again, with the walls, there is gonna be pretty effective. It's gonna allow just kind of keep those walls clear when it's active here. But we're going to see Gaiā here. Oh my goodness. Oh, with a decisive wipeout right there. Going to be control the zone and getting a hefty amount of points. Pushing on up into Wee's base here. Gaiā is going to be locking things down.
Locking things down. A Crab is going to try and see if they can displace someone, but they're just going to end up shredded by the tri-strikes. The Bucket going to end up taking down another member of Wee. Just not going to be able to. They're just currently just kind of stuck in spawn right now. A Hammer and the Cooler have got to be able to break something through right now, because we're already down to 25, and unless we can get some really good picks right now, it's just going to be over right now, just with a single minute having passed.
Yeah, we got 7 seconds remaining. One more member's gonna be jumping. But yeah, it just, oh my gosh, it's over. Like Gaiā just completely locked that down after the wipeout. Just even we saw the hammer getting popped, we saw the crowd coming out, but just every single like resource or special that we tried to throw out there just was instantly denied by Gaiā. Just such good oppression, such good forward positioning. Just they didn't give we even a chance to break out.
WeWe was running a really interesting team comp, but they ended up like just being tested by what I would consider like a good stuff team comp. There is like absolutely nothing surprising there. You have your dually, your splatter shot, your slosher, and your pencil. This works. We know it works. We've known it works for months now, and the patch hadn't really changed that. Moving into Robo Ramen, like obviously this comp on this map was tried and true, and trying to break through that with something unorthodox definitely could have been done, but it wasn't going to be in that particular game, as Gaiā did not give WeWe a single moment to breathe right there. But going into Clamblitz Scorch Gorge, how do you think that this might end up changing?
I feel like one of the biggest things is just how vast this map is. I think it is okay. I take that back because it is big. Like it's so vast around the center area, but it's like the area around the clam basket, the kind of hot contest spot, is going to be really difficult to kind of push. I think in this case Gaiā out. Like if Gaiā sets up like they did before, like they can continue just pour clams in. I think like that's going to be WeWe's biggest hurdle to get through is like how are they going to be able to make Gaiā move when they're set up like that. I think like if they're able to keep them out of their basket area, they have a lot of space to work where they have some more opportunity to get their own points on the board. But it's all going to come down to how effectively are they going to be able to keep Gaiā from playing the game that they want to play.
Yeah, I think the key puzzle piece that they're going to need to solve is how are you going to displace the pencil? How are you going to displace the crab tank when it gets popped? How are you going to play around the tri-strike so that you're not just instantly getting shredded and touch of death from the absurd damage that it still puts out? If you can answer those questions, then I think that we could end up having a much closer game this time. But we're going to see. It's going the ball's in their court for them to adapt to Gaia's strategy, which was pretty much flawlessly executed in the case of the Robo Ramen game.
Absolutely. I feel like Ramen is it has some strong pencil positions. But there's still, again, because of those avenues to get back into zone, there are ways to kind of get around that. But I feel like with Scorch, it's just a pencil paradise. Once they're set up in the center area right there, it's going to be really tough, like you said, just for WeWe to kind of break out. We're going to see just a complete change in comp from WeWe. Bringing out the edit there, going to be having that for the cooler, but also bringing out the blue dapples. Going to be bringing some torpedo and those reef slider here. I'm curious how it's going to play. Like they're gonna have to play really aggressive to kind of make up the range difference. But I think the only difference we see from Gaiā is just the dually swap to a splash shot, but they still have quite a bit of range and just space denial.
We also have an end parry dually on the side of Gaiā, throwing that triple splashdown in there, going to be able to grab some space. Not a terrible idea, honestly. Around the basket area, triple splashdown can end up being really, really powerful, and ending up using it to good effect right now in order to buy a whole bunch of space for Gaiā, starting this push off strong with putting 45 on the board immediately. No further than that, and it's looking like WeWe is going to start trying to get pushing to retake their spawn area.
Do a nice job. They were able to stop Gaiā from putting in too many more clans. They were going to take control of the ramp, but once again, just the pencil up in mid there is going to just give a lot of space for Gaiā right here. A lot of orange paint on the map. We do see cooler G popped here. Strike's going to be spent in response, however. Duel is going to be going down, and already we're seeing Gaiā push right back in, trying to get that fall in, and they do just that. We'll see it. They don't really have too much follow-up at the time being, but with where they're positioned right now, all they got to do is just kind of fall back just a little bit and then get back in. But the basket's going to close before they can do that.
Right now, it's just kind of a case of like they're just stalling out WeWe. They're just not leaving their side of the map whatsoever. Gaiā is just not really getting pushed back very much at all. Very slowly, but they're building up specials. They're building up clams, managing to not take any losses from the special spent by WeWe right now. It's just and as soon as they get an advantage, they just pounce on it, getting a wipeout after the Junior overextends, and it's going to be yet another push from Gaiā that's definitely going to end up putting in further points on the board, possibly even a wipeout if they manage to get enough clams.
NOVALIBRIUM doing an excellent job just keeping WeeWee at bay. Going to be getting 2 before they're taken down. Gonna just leave random trying to clean things up, but once again, like, they didn't have too many clams to fall over. They're just continuing to put on pressure and just chip away at that point value. I think just like now the next step, like WeeWee has been able to kind of stop the push, but they haven't been able to kind of break out past that. So I think they're going to have to find a way to dislodge that pencil before they can start retaking mid. But NOVALIBRIUM is going to be making things difficult from the backside. Already just pushing right underneath the ledges. Like, they are in prime positions to get open that basket and get more points.
In prime position, NOVALIBRIUM is continuously just still buying more space. The splash ends up finding the ending up one of WeeWee's members going forward, getting the crab set up. They're gonna try and get more clams in. Again, clam economy is not that great here. It kind of feels like with the level of map control that Gaiā has, they could have probably KO'd from now, but not quite able to stall out the basket, and they're going to have to wait once again to try more, giving WeeWee another opportunity to potentially push them out of the base.
I was gonna say, this is gonna be one of those rare opportunities where, like, you know, they have all the aggression in the world, but they are not managing their clam economy too well. But I think, like, just the consistent pressure that we saw right there, like, they didn't give WeeWee even a chance to break out and get a counter push in. So just they chipped away the points, and finally we're gonna get the knockout with that last ball.
There was just too much for WeeWee to handle there. If it wasn't the pencil just like being able to bully every single one of their members from range, it was the fact that the end parries or the splat dualies in the previous game just being able to completely like run all over them, just not able to get them away at any point. There was just it just kind of seemed like they just couldn't keep up with Gaiā.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's exactly that. Just the speed at which they were able to react to WeeWee. I think just they had some good like one-on-one moments, but they didn't quite have, I don't know, the plan to, like, once they've stopped them from getting clams in the basket, they didn't really have the next step. Okay, what are we gonna do to start taking back in mid? You know, I think they brought out the dualies to kind of like match their speed and aggression, but just they were going into a 1v3 or 1v4 situations that didn't have kind of anyone following up with that. So in the end, just that fizzled out for WeeWee and just allowed Gaiā to continue to come back and continue to just score more clams.
Indeed. Well, a good effort all the same. It looks like we are going to be moving into round 3 pretty soon. With how
Yes,
brief
indeed.
that ended up being.
Oh yeah, that was over super quick. We're gonna have plenty of time before our next set, so we will be going to another possibly slightly longer break, but nonetheless, stay tuned and stay hydrated because we will be right back.
Hello, hello, hello. We are back with more Swimmer Sync. Round 3. We've got Thunderclap and we've got sorry, I'm trying to remember. Kagekoi. Thank you. I was trying to pronounce it one way and then my brain got stuck and I was not sure of myself anymore. I'm still part 2 and I'm still with IMAD.
Hello. Yeah, I think the first time I saw their name, I made the mistake of pronouncing it as Kagekoi, which is not anywhere close to how it's supposed to be. So you were all good. But I think, like, man, that last set, that went fast. So I'm excited for this next one. Hopefully we're going to be taken to another round 3 to finish off our groups for the night. And I'm trying, I recognize some of the players on the team. I think both of these are going to be pickups, if I remember correctly. But going to Splatoon on Umami Ruins, what are your hopes, your dreams, your expectations for this map mode?
I'm always hoping for a good back and forth on Umami Ruins, and usually a double zone map makes me feel pretty hopeful for that. It does make the retake a little bit harder, but it also can end up with some really exciting mid-fights. I really, really, really like Umami Ruins personally, but I also realize that even after the map rework that it received, it is still a little bit lockout heavy. This could be one that is just a very, very quick knockout, or it could end up going the distance all the way to overtime. We're just going to have to see how these two teams match into each other.
I feel like the biggest factor in that, just like, one of the key lockout spots when you have control of both zones is like getting under or onto that dome there and then getting around the ramp area. If like the defending team is able to break back in, take that space, then they can at least like contest one of the zones to put it into neutral and just like keep the enemy team from getting points on the board. But we, oh my, okay. This is funny. We're seeing almost a mirror of these comps. I think the only difference here is the splash on the side of Thunderclap and then the carbon roller on Kagekoi, who, speaking of, was going after the pencil, but unfortunately is going to have to jump out.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be going into Thunderclap's position to start out right now. The Wiper managing to get a good pick onto the pencil, managing to continue that into the hammer, managing to get a good amount of space here. Not quite managing to get dislodged with one member of Thunderclap now completely isolated. The Wiper's going to try and contest the zone. Strikes are flying now, and it's looking like right now we're going back to a neutral mid fight, slightly favoring Kagekoi right now.
Indeed, 2 members of Thunderclap going to be going down. Still haven't capped the zone, but they're going to change right here. Kagekoi finally going to be opposing penalty points and getting some points of their own on the board. But like they don't have any specials right now, so it's just kind of a, you know, a poke fight right here. But strikes are going to be coming out for Thunderclap. Going to getting one, but oh, Comrade on the carbon coming up on top. Going to be getting one, but unfortunately does get taken down. Not before, however, Thunderclap does take that zone back.
Managed to get the zone back, and Thunderclap is going to take down their penalty. We're managing to catch out the Slosher. They got the Wiper as well with the burst bomb. There's only a Crab Tank that can really stop anything, but they end up picked as well. This is looking really good for Thunderclap as they manage to get an aggressive hold in. Azuka now going to try and harass the spawning members of Kagekoi, but unfortunately the Azuka goes down, and it's going to be Kagekoi now surging back with their specials to try and retake the zone before Thunderclap ends up taking a KO.
I think that was very well played by Kagekoi right there. Is exactly what I was talking about before. Is like, you know, they, as soon as they were able to take control of that zone, get the 2 players down, it's like they had a straight shot and were able to put pressure on the zone. And after the one zone fell, they were able to keep moving on in, getting mid there. And so now they are in control of both of those zones. Crab's going to get popped. He's just falling for time. And a nice splat on the carbon. That's going to be huge for Kagekoi right here. And that's going to allow their Wiper to be able to respawn and get back in. And we're going to see both sets of strikes from both teams just going to be thrown out in the same spot. And it is going to be Thunderclap with the player advantage right now, but still in control of the zone for Kagekoi for the next couple of seconds. Not quite able to get the lead, however.
Not quite, but making some pretty good progress. Thunderclap did have to spend a fair amount of resources to get through all of that, but they managed to have a couple more still banked up for this push. Right now, flexing that special advantage, you can't really push into this right now until you've built up your own specials. Kagekoi now trying to make something happen with the Crab, not quite able to do it. They're gonna pop strikes, try to see if they can open up something right now. They need a pick, they need to find some space, some way to get in right now, and it's looking like right now Thunderclap is only barely budging, moving back, but not falling, not quite fast enough for Kagekoi to really retake right now. We're just kind of seeing a knockdown, drag-out neutral fight right now. Everyone's going down, and it's looking like Thunderclap is going to retain control and start taking down points momentarily.
Oh my gosh, Viv is just putting so much work to keep that push going right there. Able to jump out just far enough back to live, but then also close enough to teach the pop strikes as soon as they landed. The hammer throw almost took them out, but it's gonna, that's gonna leave Kagekoi with one opportunity to break back in. 2 members of Thunderclap down, but they lose 2 of their own members, and now we're down to 10 points, and they have 1 special, and it's gonna be that hammer. 2 members down, they're going to have to go for a zone. They do stall the 1 zone. Hammer trying to find this pencil, but the pencil takes 2. Able to hold on, just stay alive and keep things rolling. And with 3 members down, a full wipeout to seal the deal. Thunderclap taking game 1.
Oh, watching that hammer turning radius just hurt me in my soul. As someone who plays hammer weapons every now and again, I played Wiper since the game came out. Oh man, it always feels bad that you just can't quite turn sharp enough in order to get that last crucial pick. It was a good effort from Kagekoi, but like going 2 down right then and there was just absolutely killer right there. And Thunderclap is going to have a very convincing lead to go into game number 2. Rainmaker Museum d'Alfonsino, probably one of my favorite Rainmaker maps personally. What do you think about it, Imad?
I'll have to say that I am typically not a big fan of Rainmaker as a mode, but I have to agree that Museum is one of my favorite Rainmaker maps. I think it's very interesting because I know like one of the key things about Rainmaker is that it's so easy once you have a huge advantage just to kind of push for points. But I feel like Museum kind of counters that, like because of how it is structured, you have to take so much like forward space before you can push forward safely that it kind of slows down the game in a bit that is unusual for Rainmaker. But I feel like it's going to be interesting because we saw how Thunderclap, they did an excellent job of pushing up and taking space, but how that Kagekoi was able to kind of counter push back, able to break out from that, I don't expect to see too much of a runaway. But like again, it's just these team comps are so similar. It's just it comes down to, you know, just the one weapon and then like the just mechanics and team synergy.
Absolutely, and it's looking like right now it's going to be a very scrappy mid-fight right now. Two members of each team going down with a very slight favor towards Thunderclap at the moment, being able to get onto their onto the Kagekoi's splash and managing to get a whole ton of space. The Rainmaker not quite picked up yet, but they're taking their time. They're just managing to secure as much space as they possibly can. The Carbon just absolutely being a menace right now, but finally going down after the rest of the members of Thunderclap try to get on. It's looking like Kagekoi is finally going to be trying to push him out with no movement from the Rainmaker whatsoever.
That is very unusual. You even typically see like when any sort of player advantage happens, you see the Rainmaker getting picked up, but both the teams just playing it incredibly safe, not wanting to touch it until they have an even stronger advantage. But we're going to be seeing Kagekoi going 3 members down once again. Chrono going to be the last one remaining, but Thunderclap is going to be going for that checkpoint, finally getting some points on the board. And like they just been putting on all the pressure to Kagekoi. Like even though they've been able to keep them at bay, they haven't been able to push them out of mid. That we saw Fox on the spinner for such a long time, and like anytime they try to drop in, just instantly taken out by the bucket or the Carbon.
Indeed, we're going to be going into yet another fight. The Rainmaker kind of in a bit of an awkward spot, but Thunderclap is still still in the driver's seat at the moment, going to be moving up with the cooler, trying to get onto the spinner area, onto the platform, using tri-strikes to buy themselves even more space, but Kagekoi is trying to take positions on high ground, trying to get around to see if they can find a hole in the offense, and the Sniper Rider managing to find a pick is going to be a good start for them. Wiper going down as well, with Pencil having a line on the Rainmaker, managing to help secure the kill, and Thunderclap's push will stop at 53, allowing Kagekoi to get back into this game.
Kagekoi getting a lot of paint out right now, and I think this is what they need. They need to just start taking the space right here. But the Carbon coming in from the side, getting one, goes to take it out, but that is going to leave 2 members of Kagekoi down and make that 3. Rainmaker carrier is also going to be taken out. A delayed wipe after that. Like even that was so unfortunate. We did see, Thunderclap kind of stalled out around the spin right here, but like every time that Kagekoi tries to make a move, they're just ready. They just react. They're back so fast. I think it's just like, each member of Thunderclap does a good job of just kind of stalling for time while their team like regroups, and just they're giving Kagekoi such a hard time and just making it difficult for them to get any sort of space back.
They're going to try their best, however, using that hammer to try and clear some space, managing to get the throw onto the Slosher. Really good setback for Kagekoi. Unfortunately, Pencil dropping down with the Rainmaker, getting picked immediately, but this is still good for Kagekoi right now. They're managing to get back into mid. They're trying to do their best to get into a position where they can finally mount a push on their own, get some points on the board, and they are getting a little bit close to more specials. Tri-strikes coming out, the hammer not going to be able to come out in time, picked up by the Pencil. The Pencil managing to help secure another, and it's looking like momentum is shifting right back into Thunderclap's grasp for yet another push.
Fox doing an excellent job. We saw the Wiper trying to get across the spinner there, but Fox is going to lock things down, just making sure everything above the board is going to be completely cleared for their team. And so we're going to see the Rainmaker do reset there, but again, just 2-3 members of Kagekoi down, not able to catch a break here. Just consistently, Thunderclap is getting up, getting aggressive. Carbon Roller take it out 2 before they're going down here, opening up so much points for Thunderclap, getting it all the way down to 5 before they're taken out. It is going to take 3 members of Thunderclap down before Kagekoi can break back in, but they are continuing to jump in.
Washroom getting out of dodge, getting a cheeky pick real quick. It is now a situation of having to bring the Rainmaker all the way back in 30 seconds and overtime, breaking the checkpoint and essentially KOing in order for Kagekoi to stay in this game. Thunderclap in a commanding position for this end game right now, especially since they're stalling Kagekoi at their own plat right now. Thunderclap in commanding position right now. The Rainmaker under fire from strikes, from torpedoes, from absolutely everything in the kitchen sink. They're trapped in a corner right now. If Thunderclap can close the gap right now, they're not quite able to find it. Kagekoi now actually managing to get through, but the pencil sniping from the spinner manages to stop the Rainmaker and secure the set for Thunderclap.
Oh my goodness. I was going to say, like, we saw that hammer was online from the wiper. That could have been like the end of that push if they weren't careful. If they were able to take it down, but in the end, it was the pencil coming back, just getting up on the spinner. They weren't able to clear out that spinner completely, and so just even the pencil up on top, gonna knock out the Rainmaker carrier and bring it to a nice 2-0 for Thunderclap in this set. Man, I think, like, thinking back to that zones map, just Kagekoi was able to keep breaking out. There was a lot of times where they had so much space to work with, but then this next one, I don't know what flipped. I don't know if it was the map mode or what, but just Thunderclap really did Thunderclap. Kagekoi just had all the space in the world, and it wasn't until the very last second in overtime that Kagekoi was even able to get the Rainmaker past the line of scrimmage to the pedestal.
Yeah, it was a struggle for sure. Museum is definitely can sometimes be like this, where you have a really hard time trying to push out because of the fact that the last push ended with you so pushed far back into your spawn or onto your plat, and you still have to take time to repaint mid. You have to get paint back on your side of the map. You need to take that time, and I think that, like, from the looks of things, Kagekoi was not able to really, like, get that space back even after a successful defense there in a reasonable amount of time. So Thunderclap just kept pushing their advantage. They kept going at a speed that Kagekoi simply just could not keep up with. Despite some really good pushes, some really good fights, it just wasn't enough. They ended with being almost able to break the first checkpoint, but no more.
Absolutely. I think, like, again, even though, like, Kagekoi had a lot of good team coordination and were taking a lot of good team fights, one of the things that really stood out for Thunderclap was, like, even when they were 3 members down, if the bucket was up, if the carpenter was up, even especially if the pencil was up, just that one player was able to, like, they didn't even need to necessarily get a lot of picks or, like, take a lot of engagement. Them existing diverted so much attention from Kagekoi that the rest of Thunderclap was able to respawn, get back into mid, and just back up that player. Even, like, if that last player went down, just the reaction time, the respawn time just kept stacking up again and again against Kagekoi, so that they never had a time to breathe, never a time to kind of build an offensive into mid. And so in the end, it just snowballed all the way to the 5-point mark for Thunderclap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, GG's from both teams for both of these sets. It's looking like, and that's going to be the end of our coverage from the rounds, but we are going to still be going forward into the bracket stage for one more round with us. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with Great White.
Your boy Sprightly.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here once again for the bracket stage of Swim or Sink 184. We're here for round one. It is going to be Time versus Ball Up Top Cubed. I'm still part two, and I'm still here with Imad.
Hello, hello. Yes, we are getting into our top cut, our Great White bracket. This is going to be the teams gunning for the top. We are now in our single elimination bracket. So this is for all the marbles. It's like you gotta put it all in here. You gotta be able to fight it out and just fight your way to the top. But we're gonna be watching Time versus Ball Up Top Cubed, as part two said. Yeah, this is gonna be our first match of Great White, and I don't. Trying to think here. I'm not quite recognize these teams here, but like again, we're going to that double zone kind of set. So we're going to start out on Barnacle Dime zones. So what are the things that you are hoping to expect from here, part two?
Barnacle and Dime is kind of like, what if does this make sense to you? What if Umami Ruins was a single zone map? That's kind of what I'm starting to think of Barnacle and Dime as. It is definitely lockout heavy. It's definitely benefited from its rework to be a lot more pleasant to go through. There's a lot of different weapons that can work on it, but I kind of feel as if the edge goes through anything that can hit around cover, anything that has advantages on long sight lines. It definitely feels like a map that also can get pretty scrappy, especially since like the play area that you want to usually take fights in is still pretty limited, all things considered. So hard to say right now. I kind of feel as if out of the two zones games that we could be potentially seeing in this set, this one's definitely going to be a lot scrappier.
For sure. Okay, I'll have you know, as soon as you said, like, I'm not gonna be able to view Barnacle and Dime any other way now, but you're so right. Like, I think particularly with the rework and that little drop down area, it is pretty much exactly like Umami zones, except with a single zone. It's crazy, the similarities there. But I think like with those similarities is going to come very similar styles. Like Barnacle and Dime was already pretty lockout heavy, especially taking control of the enemy kind of stack right there. But I think that, like, yeah, it just going to be very similar to Umami, and that is going to be hard to break out, and it's require quite a bit of team synergy, quite a bit of special usage to get them off that first stack. But I think the one difference being, like, big difference being the single zone versus the 2 zone is going to not quite be as back and forth, just because it's going to be a little bit easier to cap that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is another one of those maps where I feel like I see Reef Slider being able to take quite a bit of, get a lot of value out of it. Obviously, triple Ink Strike, always going to be good on Barnacle. I don't think there's ever going to be a universe where it isn't. Bubble, I actually want to shout out as well, because there's not too much high ground. It's actually a bit harder to hit that weak point unless you're already on, like, that elevated plat area. So there's a whole bunch of different options that I think have a bit more value. I think this is like one of the... I think that, like, I've seen Decapitators do, like, extremely good work on this map in particular. I would not be surprised if I saw one or both teams using that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like, because of how, like, that is the other thing about this map is, like, it is pretty flat. Like you said, there aren't too many high grounds that can really keep you safe from a decaf. The decaf suffers from a huge difference in verticality just because it doesn't have the same ledge camping as, like, a Stamper does, but so that's going to give itself a lot of range to work with. And just Bubble in general is so strong for zones. I think you mentioned it before, just like it's harder to hit that weak point because of that lack of verticality. Now, we're not going to be seeing the decaf, unfortunately, but we are going to see the bubbler coming in the form of that junior, which is going to kind of play the role of the splash just without the crab tank. Just give a lot of paint, a lot of bomb support.
Now, ball top cube going up really quick, trying to get some space. That Gaiā positioning very aggressively with that splash wall in order to try and buy some space to get an early hold, but the Gaiā and the dualies going down immediately as soon as time manages to find their footing. So now it's going to be zone flipped. The cooler is not going to end up finding too much value, but the pencil does get flipped back down. It is just going to be a bit of a back and forth fight right now. Ball up top looking like they're going to take 3 down and have a hold that lasts longer than 20 seconds.
I was saying, it's interesting that because both of these teams are, they're running the pencil, but that is pretty much the extent of their range. We see the Dapples, we see the 52 Gaiā. Both of these are going to be very short range, very in-your-face kind of weapon styles. They're going to be pushing up hard and going to be pushing up fast. But it's like you see a similar style coming out from ball up top cubes. Like we see the Carbon Roller, also a short range weapon that wants to get in your face. But then double shooters just from both sides. A lot of paint that just is going to require a lot of specials to kind of break that pencil's hold because of the lack of range here. And we are seeing that in use here. Strikes are going to be following up with it, but there's just so many points on the board for time already. Like, if they're continuing to keep this paint, the junior putting in some nice work there. Pencil, unfortunately, going to be locking things down. And that cap right there is going to put so many penalty points and give ball on top another opportunity to get this game back.
We are already in functionally what I call a KO or lose situation for ball up top. It is going to... They did manage to slowly push things back. The bubble drawing out the strikes, making that push take so much longer than it probably could have. But ball up top is not going to throw this down without a fight. Unfortunately, their crab ends up getting hit before it can do anything, as well as their strikes. It's actually going to be a complete wipeout with just the pencil left and the Gaiā and the dually Gaiā just jumping in right now. The fight's over and it's right back in Times Court.
It was kind of funny. We had the briefest pencil 1v1 with them being the last remaining, but I think Times pencil just was able to get the last hit in and complete the KO for them. So they're going to be taking... They've already taken through like a good chunk of the penalty points, but we see ball on top cube already trying to push back in. That crab opening up a lot for them. So if they're able to get their junior onto the zone, get the bubbler up, they could potentially stop this push from getting it to the KO, but they are going to be cutting it close. Already down to 2 points, and then it's going to be just 2 points from the KO, but finally ball on top, getting the zone on the last point. They absolutely have to get KO if they want to take this back.
Yeah, it was become from functional KO or lose, it is now actually KO or lose. Going down all the way to 1 time does not have to do anything but run out the clock in order to win this, but they could always end up taking a huge fight from ball up top right now. They have the time to spare. They don't need to they don't exactly need to push completely right now. They can take their time, they can build up their specials, and they can make sure that their next push can seal the deal. Right now they're going to be going forward. They're going to try and do more, and it's looking like it's going to be like a 2 down on each situation, with ending with ball on top, still in control for the time being.
You do see that reach slider online from the Dapples, and they are going to be popping that right as the strikes come out. Going to be taking out that shot right there, but it is going to leave 3 members of time down, and so ball on top with that player advantage. Junior the Pencil going to be pushing it up, taking a lot of space, and the Crab, I'm sorry, that is a Splash-O-Matic. That is going to be a Crab popping right on the zone, and they are going to be taking the KO. Pull on top Q with the clutch comeback, locking that zone down and getting game 1.
Absolutely incredible hold right there. Just managing to rebuff time like over and over again. Just managing to keep that hold going. Once again, I have to say, like, Nope, my brain turned off. I'm sorry. I don't have anything to say.
I was gonna say, I thought for sure that was the Junior that was on the zone, and like with the special online, it's like if they had popped that bubbler, that honestly would have sealed the deal either way. But I think the Crab was such a good secondary. Like as soon as they were able to pop that, that just put on a lot of pressure onto time. And even though like they were diving for that zone, I think they weren't able to take the most direct path that they wanted, simply because the Crab was standing in their way. I think that just gave ball on top enough time to hold the zone and get the last couple of points they needed for that KO. Because we saw right at the end there, it was getting quite a bit of pain. It could have flipped in if it had a second or more.
Yeah, absolutely. There was also a moment that I noticed also with the Junior for I think it was Ball of Top's Junior that had popped a bubble on like the block that is like to the left of Time's spawn, and ended up drawing 2 strikes that could have been used for a retake, which ended up slowing that enough and getting a lot more points on the board as kind of like a knock-on effect. It's I was kind of like wondering about the bubble, but like, you know, when you're playing strikes, if you play a strikes weapon for long enough, you see a bubble get popped, you just kind of instantly slam that button and you just kind of throw it without thinking. I kind of feel as if maybe the play there was to hold the strikes, not actually use them on the bubble. Maybe only throw 1 there, but I think you need those. I think you need to be. I think if the capability to bait strikes like that exists in this set, you need to be careful about how you're using them.
No, I think that's a huge point, because I think like you're right. Like you have the option. You can either use your strikes, you know, even if it's just the one on the bubble. But like unless you destroy the bubble, if you use the strikes on zone, you still have to deal with the bubble that's standing in your way. So I think, you know, like you said, if they had just a little more patience, just wait out the bubble, then that leaves you with a strike special to use on the zone, and you no longer have a bubble standing in your way. So you kind of are able to throw the strikes and then immediately follow up on it. But like you said, instead they opted to pop them right away. They use them on the bubble, and that just like that almost diversionary tactic is a key part of splat zones, because like you don't necessarily need to get the splats to win zone when you have control. You just got to make sure the enemy isn't looking at the zone while it ticks down to nothing. And so I think like that was, like you said, just being able to bait out the special like that just kind of played into their favor there. But you know, this is going to kind of play out differently for tower control on Undertow, whereas like maybe you still have that kind of diversionary tactics just because of how far left field that tower has to go. You have to deal more with kind of you have a more direct contention of the mode itself. So like if you're able to like just continue to throw stuff at the tower, it's like they can't push forward and get space.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, I think, for these teams in particular, because as you might have noticed, like outside of the pencils, neither of them were running anything with range. They were using short-range weapons the whole way down. Aggressive weapons that want to get in, and they don't really use range. They use their speed to their advantage. That is not necessarily always going to fly on Undertow, where there's a lot of high ground that the defending team has access to. There's a lot of places where stuff like sloshers and blasters and rollers really have a field day. Yeah, we did see a carbon roller, but like Carbon Roller isn't necessarily my first pick for Undertow Spillway. That said, I don't think it's a terrible pick here. I am going to see, though, if any midline weapons end up getting picked from either team in order to adapt to the map.
No, I think you're exactly right. I feel like Carbon Roller if Carbonello is able to set up, if it's able to get past the midpoint, then yes, it can do some good work. But I think the part that kind of slows it down is just the fact that it is very narrow in the middle. So like early game, it's not able to go off and do carbon things. It has to wait before your team already has a hold before it can like set up properly. So, but I think it goes back to what you're saying. Is like neither team have any range weapons. They're all fast, short range weapons, and so they're not able to necessarily take a lot of space on their own. It's going to be quite a bit of scrappy fights and a very much reliance on their specials to kind of gain that ground.
Once again, Time going to be going in, trying to see if they're going to be, if they can take an early lead. Real quick, the Gal trying to position forward, but gonna end up picked off. The Carbon now in a position where it could end up getting a pick or two. Now going to surge forward with Cooler, make the pencil extremely uncomfortable, but gets picked itself. It's looking like it's going to be a wipeout for Ball up top, and Time is now going to get that early push that they wanted.
Indeed, and they're going to gain a lot of paint out here as well. You do see the Junior in such a good position right there. If they're able to get their bubble up and put it on this block, that's going to be a lot of protection on that that checkpoint for the pencil. But is right now they're just trying to get through space in here, and the strikes are going to come out pretty early, so that's going to give a lot of free space for that bubble to get popped. Though unfortunately not quite far enough for it to actually protect the tower, and then the crab is going to shred it. But on the other hand, that crab having to vote to the bubble, and we're going to be seeing two members of Ball at the top going down, resetting the tower.
Time trying to do their best to get through right now. They are still trying to push. They're not letting go of the gas pedal right now. They do have a bit of a cooler advantage right now, as there was a pick on the Ball top pencil that ended up allowing Time to continue the aggression. The cooler cycling has been on point, but it's looking like Time is now actually going to surge back and get Ball up out. No, never mind. Actually, they got cleaned up. There's a bubble on the tower. Tri-Strike is going to get them out, but the checkpoint did fall, and Time is still moving forward.
Oh my goodness, 3 members of Time going down, but just they've already pushed it to that third checkpoint, and the dualies took so long to get taken out. That just done a lot of time for Time to come back. Ball on top going to be cleaning up, getting some space here. They have quite the uphill battle to hit so far. But they do have the crab tags and the cooler online. They're going to be popping that crab tag on this left side, trying to start drawing attention away. But the pressure is still on. They still have that first checkpoint to get through, and they're rushing the tower. Like we just seen, like both these teams utilizing their speed to just kind of dive at the team holding the tower.
One down on either side right now. Both of them trying to keep in control. The splash ends up going down for Ball up top, and now 1-1 yet again. There's just trades going on all over the place. Zuka trying to find someone, not going to be able to get past the tower in order to do it. Killer Whale goes out, the Carbon goes down, and Ball up top is going to have their push rebuffed for now, but now there's a sharking Octoshot just like looking for some sort of opportunity. I'm wondering what they're about to do.
Nice flat from the Gaiۂ there, just getting the one, and they're going to be resliding in, finding a second, and then jumping out immediately, just getting a lot of space for Time right here. All 3 members of Time going to be pushing up into Ball on Top's base here, and this is kind of where this kind of comp shines. Like if they can't, they don't have the range to contest open space, but if they're able to get underneath the ledge here, that's going to make it incredibly difficult for Ball on Top to drop down here. But they were able to clear them out before Time was able to get through that third checkpoint. Still quite a bit of points to get through, but they are keeping them at bay, just giving themselves as much time as they can to keep them from the knockout here.
This game is going to be really, really close at this point. Tower moved up to the third checkpoint. The pencil from Ball up top going down. The Junior now holding onto the tower, not quite at a bubble, so they're going to end up getting picked, and the checkpoint very nearly falls. But it's looking like Ball up top is starting to stabilize, although they're going to have to dodge a whale in order to do it now.
Ooh, Pencil getting called out in the corner here from the Junior. Moon TV going to be retaking the tower, and they have the bubbler ready to go. It's just going to be a matter of how well immediately. We're going to be popping that bubbler immediately. Ball on top going to be putting on enough pressure that they pop to stay safe. And they're going to be looking to just continue to get up on this ramp here. Like every second they're able to delay Ball on top means that they have that control of the tower. But it looks like they're aiming to just knock it out right here, just end the game. Unfortunately, 3 members going down right there. Ball on top is going to stop them before that happens. Just 20 seconds, though, is not giving them a lot of time to get all the way to that last checkpoint.
Not a lot of time, but it is still possible. They're going to get that special advantage from riding the tower. They have 2 banked up right now as the tower is crossing into mid. Never mind, but Carbon ends up going down prematurely. Go with Cooler, so they still retain the special. The Ball on top trying now to keep going forward. They get picked by the pencil. 1 going down. Crab Tank on the tower trying to make something happen, but they're surrounded from all sides. The Splat Bomb ends up finding the pick, and that's going to be it. Time is going to take it to 1-1, and we are going to brine water zones for this next game.
Oh man, we narrowly avoided the barnacle zones in a previous set. But I think like we saw, the crab on tower, like that was such a good position for a crab to have. But I think the one weakness of having a crab is having someone flank around, and just those Dapple duelies came straight from the backfield, taking out the 2 members of the tower rider. And so at that point, that just reset it and ended the game there. I think, but just the huge amount of time that Time was able to keep the tower on Ball on top side of the map is like they didn't give them any time to make a comeback or respond at the end there. So it gave them such a huge buffer to work with it. They honestly didn't need to like rush into it. They just could wait till the perfect opportunity, let them use all their specials and resources, and then just pounce on the tower like they did.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dapple in particular, I noticed, was causing some absolute havoc over in Ball on Top's base, just constantly going in, constantly leveraging their fast dodge rolls, their absolute speed that the Dapples can play at, and Ball on Top not quite able to keep up with them. It ended up like sowing a lot of chaos and like a ton of their own side of the map. Ball on Top just had to keep repainting over, slowing them down, building their specials, yes, but when Time is just never letting up on the gas, does it really matter? You kind of need to match speed for speed there, and against Blue Dapple, it is sometimes hard to keep up.
No, for sure. It's gonna be, because that's gonna be interesting. Like with tower control, when you're both running those kind of divey short range comps, like it can get, I don't know, pretty scrappy. But I think like we're going back to zones on here. The Pencils are going to have a field day with Barnacle, or no, it's not Barnacle, from Brine Water. Oh. But if these short-range weapons are able to get like all the way up those ramps, like that's going to be incredibly difficult for the other team to kind of push them out here. So we'll see which team is able to get that early lead, get that early hold, and start taking some points down.
Ball up top up here, adapting with a vanilla splat roller and getting that bubble option alongside the roller's kill power. It's going to be able to start going with the trade. It's going to be Time hold to start as per usual, as they always seem to be opting to do. And with a couple of jump-ins, they are going to try and see if they are going to hold here. Killer Whale goes out, trying to target as many people as possible. Still the ball is in still Time's court, but Ball up top trying to get some space with the bubble, trying to get some members. They end up getting a 2-fer, ending up looking to be able to flip the zone right now.
And flip the zone, not letting Time run away too far with it, but we still see several members of Time just kind of running around from the outskirts, just looking for a place to poke in and break in here. And we're seeing the Reef Slider coming in, does get taken out, but not before they cap the zone. But with 3 members of Time going down, the last one going to be taken down as well. Like, they don't have too many penalty points at the breakthrough, and Ball on top is in some pretty prime positions right here.
Prime positions along with the Ink Strike ready. Unfortunately gets sniped without a cooler, so the Snipe Rider is going to end up opening an opportunity for Time to come and retake, especially with bubble ready. If they manage to get the Junior into a decent enough position, which I believe they are going to pop it. Pencil going to be trapped in the Thunderdome with the Junior, and they're going to end up running away from it with Time now having the zone.
There's Cavo just a point away from that lead there, but they don't have too many penalty points of their own, like just with how back and forth this has been so far. Already the zone has been flipped. Like we're seeing like very low number penalties being added here, so it doesn't take too long for each team to kind of chew through it. But you might be seeing Ball on top finally get that lead that they had before. They're just really pushing on up. Reside is going to come out and cap it once again. No, never mind. There we go. Ball on top nearly was able to save it there, but unfortunately just the follow-up paint from Time was able to cap it back in their favor. but just so far, like neither team has really been able to get a solid hold to get too many points. It's just been, you know, swap after swap. But we might see that change here because 3 members have a delayed wipe out the ball top there, and they have retaken the lead here. Time is so pushed up here.
I'm with that aggressive hold now and delaying the specials. We're going to be seeing a crab very shortly, but with no specials to respond in kind. The 1-for-1 trades going out. A bubble is ready to be popped for ball up top if the roller can get into a good position. Not quite managing to find the takedown onto the Gaiā. Only 15 seconds remain. They need to keep going right now in order to get this KO off the time, but with all these pops, with the strikes coming out just in the nick of time, no, it is too late.
Wow. Oh, you hate to see it. The zone did flip, but it was a second after the game had ended. No. So time is going to be taking the set with a rather scrappy game 3 there.
Oh, that's funny. My internet cut out right at the end there. Oops.
Oh no.
Well, yeah. I don't know at what point I cut out at, but yeah, game's over. Time is taking it 2-1 and pretty convincing fashion. Just aggressive hold after aggressive hold, and they managed to stay on top for the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like it's ball on top nearly brought that back in those last couple of seconds, but I think it was just like waited a second too long to pop the strikes, and so they were able to get the zone, but it wasn't until after the game had ended. So just unfortunate, but it's going to give time that nice 2-0 and is going to allow them to move on up in the Great White bracket.
Yep, and with that, that is going to be it from us, as we're going to be passing it along to a new set of commentators for you to get used to. I'm at, hey, where can the good people find you?
Well, you can find me in all the usual places, Twitch, YouTube, Blue Sky, at IMADGamerII. You know, I've been working with my team myself and trying to do some competitive Splatoon and trying to stream more, so just get me on those. But yeah, where can the good people find you?
Part 2 on Blue Sky, Part 2 SR on Twitch and YouTube. I do speedrunning stuff. I'm doing a playthrough of Tales of Berseria, and I will probably randomly go live with other stuff. Other than that, yeah, I'm also going to just be around doing more commentary blocks as my schedule allows it for.
Heck yeah, I love to see it. But until next time, we're going to be passing it off. Stay tuned for more SOS action with the Great White Round 3 coming up next.
Round 2.
We'll be right back.
Get ready for the next battle, ladies, gentlemen, Zaynabs, and everyone else in between. My name is SPF Dark. We're coming at you live here at IPL to bring you the other half of SOS. And now, before I get too ahead of myself here, I am joined by the very well-known name top3 here with me tonight.
Hello, how you doing? I'm excited as well. Like you said, back half of SOS. This is semifinals, so these teams well acclimated, they're really ready to go. They know exactly what they want to do, they know the game plan, so let's see what they got. And for you right now, we have Lifted versus I'm gonna mispronounce this. Okay, I hate this. NOVALIBRIUM, I think that's how you say it.
I think it's supposed to be NOVALIBRIUM, like
NOVALIBRIum.
Yeah,
okay.
NOVALIBRIum.
It's just Nova. I'm sorry, I'm calling them Nova. I can't say that. There's too many letters. Too many letters.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things I love about this community is how there's 3 different types of team names here. You have like really like simple, catchy ones, like something like Lifted and stuff like that, and you have like ones that include like either Squid or Octo or Splat in them as the mandatory for some reason, and then you have just really long and complicated names for no other reason other than just to be funny for the bit. I can only assume anyways at this point. I don't know any of these players or any of these teams personally, so I'm taking a shot at the dark here. But NOVALIBRIUM, well, I want to know like where that name comes from. It's very interesting. Well, no. Before we get too far off topic though, we are, as you mentioned before, we are in semifinals, I believe. So we are now in a best of 5s, and our first game of the night is going to be on Chip Cargo Company with Splat Zones.
Yeah. Personally, whenever I think of this map mode, I think of Pencil, because I believe that NOVALIBRIUM has Henlo, which is a Pencil player, on their side. I've seen that name before, so I think Lifted has one as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I think for both teams, the biggest obstacle or advantage that they have is, of course, getting the bridge, right? Since if you get that, you can get your frontliners in, not for free per se, but a lot easier than if you don't have it, right? You have access to the entire court, you have access to that little drop area. So I think for both teams, it's a matter of, can you control bridge? If bridge is in your favor, then your hold and your push is going to be a lot easier. Because I don't want to say it's easy to lock out on this map. It kind of is, but it is a lot harder to push out when you know you have a Pencil that's able, or a Pencil, or just a backliner in general that's able to paint your entire court for you, basically.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. It's not necessarily lockout heavy, but it's very easy with the right backline. Anyways, it's very easy to control a huge part of the area that you're trying to push through. And even though there necessarily isn't a tight choke point to get through, it's just kind of oppressive to try and fight through a lot of painting pressure from the enemy team if you are stuck on your side of the map in your spawn, But that is part of the name of the game here, to try and make sure that that doesn't happen, and make sure you have a decent plan of escape if you start getting your back's pushed up against the wall, And a map like this specifically, I don't really know how to feel about it truly. It's very entertaining watch. I don't like playing it sometimes, but it can lead to very fun moments in the game as a whole. But I am eager to see exactly what kinds of weapons both of these 2 teams are bringing here. Pencil might be a good pick, and honestly, considering the power it has in past games and in past patches as well, it would not surprise me to see it again here. But I'm curious more about some of the more granular weapon picks here.
I know. Well, from my personal experience, 52 or like wall weapons are really good on this map because, of course, you do have that bit of a barrier. Like 52 Squeezer, 96 are good because you basically have a safe haven, not safe haven per se, but like you have a safe, I won't say like checkpoint, if that makes sense, like, keep yourself safe and like paint. But we're gonna see as both these teams are ready and raring to go, as we're gonna hop into game number 1 of semifinals. maybe, probably, hopefully. Don't prove me wrong. Don't prove me wrong. Don't prove me wrong. Please don't prove me wrong. We're gonna see. There we go. We are in lifted in the orange. Ooh, okay. There's there Nova in the purple. We're gonna see. Oh, okay. Well, I see where they get the name from.
Yeah,
Number one. There it is. I see where they get the name from. So, lifted, bringing out a very both teams actually got very interesting comps here with the Nova Anarchy Nova splatter shot, the Wellstring Wiper, and the NZAP very aggressive comp from Lifted. From Nova though, again very aggressive. You have that Luna, you have that Splash, you have that Carbon. These very short range, very in your face weapons. Let's see if that works out for them.
Yeah, I really like a lot of this aggression coming out here from Nova. They're able to apply a lot of pressure immediately, but with 2 going down anyways, you're starting to see the other side of that double-edged sword here with a comp like this. You go down and you lose a lot of pressure immediately, meaning the remainder of your enemy team can just go in and take as much control as they can. And with already 80 points remaining on their side, NOVALIBRIUM is just taking away that timer as Lifted is struggling to push back against their initial losses here, but they do get that integral pick up the stringer here and popping tactical. They're wanting to try and go on defensive once again to make sure they keep lifting back, but no, they're getting down picked one by one, getting almost escaping with their lives away from the Luna Blaster as lead is swapped.
Yeah, lead is swap. Lucas gonna be in zone. Gonna actually not go down. Actually able to stay alive. 3 members of the are gonna go down here. So very, very good situation there for NOVALIBRIUM. And now they do have this Wellstring. I believe that's a custom one with the chumps as well. So that can cause a lot of chaos in Lifted's court here. You can see how quickly that they're able to move up here. Along they have the pressure with that Inkjet from the Nova splatter shot. Just being able to like find or be able to point out that pencil or even that crab from Taco to see right there as 2 members of Lifted are going to go down once again. This fight in the core, one another going down, another going down as well. Lucas going to win that fight against Tacos. So now Nova looking really, really good here. You see they're pushed up. You see they have their backliner, that Wellstring in place. Not Wellstring, that Tri-Stringer in place. You see that they're able to really counteract whatever Lifted's doing here as the hammer is going to go down right away. Tacos with the crab, trying to get their way in along with the Carbon as well, but they're just pinning up the zone. That's all it's gonna take. Henlo just in the corner doing what Wipers do and just be a little annoying, and that will actually help out as Nova will take game number 1 here.
That at the end there was really tight. I saw that zone on the top showing the current progress of the capture rate was at a 50% point. It genuinely could have swung either way at that point there, and unfortunately with how games are called at this point, if you don't have the full capture by the time that time hits from 1 to 0, you're good as gone. Even if you do manage to capture it in that time frame, it's a good and done game there, and it's an unfortunate thing to see happen Lifted here that they were so close to being able to swap it there, but NOVALIBRIUM with a surprising Nova-centered comp here manages to take game number 1.
I mean, yeah, because I like it because personally I'm a fan of Nova splatter shot. Like, I think it's a very cool weapon in theory. It unfortunately it hits like a wet noodle. Like, I think it's a 5 shot.
It's a 5 shot, yeah.
Yeah, it's arrow spray kill time, which is like, Yeah, also, a little birdie. The little voice in my head said that their name is NOVALIBRIUM because they bet $50 that they can win on Nova. So, you know what? They're doing it for the bit. I love them. Let's see how far they can go as we go to game number 2, Clan Blitz Museum. We're gonna see here Lifted going with a bit of a different comp here with the Blaster Neo and along with this regular Splat Roller. So of course keeping that aggression, but a little bit different here. And of course NOVALIBRIUM still with the Nova splatter shot. So no changes from their side as well.
Yeah, I genuinely really like a lot of NOVALIBRIUM's comp here because a lot of their weapons here are dealing chip damage to really enable just the picks for the question mark there. I wonder what was the reset for, because I didn't see anything necessarily wrong there, and there definitely wasn't a DC either.
I was gonna suggest maybe there was wrong gear, but we're gonna have to maybe wrong weapons, maybe there was some lag that we didn't see from our perspective. Oh, wrong mode. Okay, you know what? I can't. It happens. It said Clan Blitz. The thing says Rainmaker, and I was like, huh, I wonder what that is. Why is it no Rainmaker? That's on me. Okay.
You know,
It's late. That's
it
my
is
excuse.
late. It is late, you know, because I also work a full day's shift here on my end, and I know you. Not to put your stuff on air, but you also woke up like not too long ago, so it is not necessarily in tip-top shape here. The fact that we didn't catch that first.
Yeah, college is definitely something, or rather, as any college student would know, end of the semester, finals are coming up, which is fantastic for me.
But what more to entertain your sanity than to watch this game on a weekly basis and just see exactly what happens here. And here, as the time has stalled, we are now on the right mode this time, running it back on this game number 2.
Yeah, we're gonna see, since I believe no one DC, so they have to stick with the same weapons as well. So we're gonna see. I think the roller pick oh, hold on, actually there's gonna be a switch up here for Lifted going over to that wellstring for the hammer. Actually double hammer. Okay, very interesting. I do like it personally on Museum, since you can have one hammer cover one side of the plat, one hammer cover the other side, just completely take it over. So we're gonna see that's be very effective here. But an instant grab from Tacos along with the blaster going very aggressive, able to get 2 members down on the side of NOVALIBRIUM, and that'll be a very quick 30-second checkpoint for Lifted.
Yeah, and I mean, the Lifted shows exactly if they can get their comp going, it can extraordinarily shine very well. Getting those immediate picks to convert it into such a massive lead within the first minute already. It's such a big shift of them compared to the first game, and now NOVALIBRIUM has to do a little bit of damage control here to make sure that they can stop the bleeding before it can get any worse. That bomb, that pop, the Rainmaker is pop here and is going to drop down to the lower ends here before getting picked off. So NOVALIBRIUM decides to have a few extra time here to try and probably Rugo with flush Lifted out, but it is a bit of a tight space here because NOVALIBRIUM are at a little bit of a disadvantage for pressing power here, and with a huge 3-player down here, the tides have been shifted almost immediately.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of very grateful if you know the NOVALIBRIUM. You're just able to get the Rainmaker off of your plat, but not a whole lot further. And I think this goes into the favor of Lifted, mainly because their comp is meant to work around these very fast map modes, especially like Rainmaker in general. Because I think their biggest problem, especially on last game with zones, was that they couldn't really push forward. They had to stay back a little bit. They had to make sure that they had some way of protecting the zone here. But now with Rainmaker, they can just kind of, for lack of a better term, just hold W and towards their opponent, and they had to deal with it. So now you see Lifted here with about 3 minutes to go in the game. They had the 42 points remaining as NOVALIBRIUM. Ever since that first couple seconds of the game, they have not been in mid, like, at all. They've been kind of stuck back on their plat. They've been pushed back really far away from mid, and they haven't been able to affect the Rainmaker at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting thing to watch here, because, you know, you would think having a tactical on your side can actually make it so it's an even playing ground here, and it looks like, as I say that, it is going to turn into an even playing ground as these hammers coming in from both sides are going to be able to clean up Lifted, and they're going to be going on the offensive here in NOVALIBRIUM to try and take plat as fast as they can so you get that Rainmaker duck and that first checkpoint pedestal. But 3 down for NOVALIBRIUM means I'm pretty sure that his push is going to be as good as that is gone, unless they can at least wait their patience a little bit and wait for their team to jump in as they do here and now.
Yeah, you're gonna see these members of Nova jump in, trying to get on the plat, but these one-shot weapons, including the roller and blaster, are just able to shut that down. So as you can see right here, along with the crab from Tacos, they try to, you know, space them out. It's gonna work out very effectively though, as that entire time, NOVALIBRIUM, they were stuck. They couldn't get past plat. They had to be wary of the blaster. They had to be wary of the roller. They had to be wary of these weapons that could make their life really, really hard. And you see right now, Lifted quickly able to flip the script here. Tacos getting a couple more points down to 80 or down to 28 points remaining. Splatoon's able to get 1 member, and it looks like they're going for even more. Another one's gonna go down as well. The jet is gonna come out from Nova, try to at least try to put a band-aid on it before it gets even worse. But now Lifted, they're on the plastic. Now if you're NOVALIBRIUM, you have 90 seconds remaining and you still have to get through that first checkpoint. So they have a really uphill battle to climb.
Yeah, this is a tough situation for NOVALIBRIUM. Any pick you can get is going to be in your favor, but any trades is going to be a losing game here since Lifted has such an advantage here over NOVALIBRIUM with a 51-point differential. It's going to be a steep hill to try and get by, but it isn't impossible by any means necessary, especially with NOVALIBRIUM on the offensive here, going in to try and take as much space as they can, missing with the hammer. That might have been a crucial mistake there to miss that pick there, and with the 1 minute timer's called, pressure's definitely going to be picky. You need to get whatever picks you can to try and convert it to and take your best advantage here, and Crafting being popped by Lifted means they're going to try and solve it out as best they can for as long as they can before finally going down. The Rainmaker is dropped to 45 seconds remaining. NOVALIBRIUM's at a bit of an impasse here.
I mean, yeah, the story of this game has really been that NOVALIBRIUM has been stuck. They've been stuck either in mid or when they push, they've been stuck at the ramp. They really haven't been able to progress a whole lot more. And just because Lifted, they're taking these good trades like that right there, Lucas going down unfortunately, and they've been getting picked off. They really haven't been able to get like a definitive team win, if that makes sense. They haven't really been able to get that one team fight that gives them the space that they need to work with. So they've been getting these trades and trades and trades. So that kind of culminated in this situation here where they're trying their best to be as aggressive as possible. You see them pushing up onto the plat. The crowd's not able to get one. So now Nova, you have to make no mistakes now. Speaking of a mistake, there's two of them going down. And you know what? Commentators curse. It's a real thing. We just saw it happen. So very clutch by the roller, I would say, just getting a double kill to just end the game. So yeah, shout out Anoma for just being at the right place at the right time, I guess.
That genuinely caught me off guard. I sounded like I actually got hit by the roller there, because man, oh man, Lifted with the roller, waited at the right opportune time there, just waiting for that opportunity to take those players pushing up on a ramp down before going for the Rainmaker in an overtime scenario, when we already know that once that overtimer is called, everyone, no matter who you are, is going to be scrambling to try and make sure that they can get any opportunity right on their side. And man, oh man, it kind of backfired on them, and it just was an extraordinary thing to watch there.
I mean, yeah, I think NOVALIBRIUM got a little bit desperate at the end there, so you know, they rushed forward without really painting around them. And what's Roller's favorite advantage? People rushing. People not paying attention, and that's exactly what happened. Anoma, they just sat there and waited. They bided their time, and they got to the Rainmaker, forced to back away, and unfortunately for NOVALIBRIUM, that was all she wrote.
Yeah, man, oh man, I think what that second game kind of showed is that if NOVALIBRIUM doesn't really get a good opening start on their side, it's kind of hard for them to try and climb out of. Lifted got their first pick or two picks there on that second game, and they really were able to convert that very well to their own lead, taking that Rainmaker down within the first 30 seconds and just keeping that advantage going on their side. It really shows that NOVALIBRIUM may have a hard time to try and coming back whenever they start a game down a little bit and heading into Clamp and Scorch Gorge. It's kind of hard to say exactly which way this might swing for either team, because it is it's relatively open, but there are some nooks and crannies for some of these sharking weapons like the blaster or the rollers you're really trying to abuse. And the thing is with NOVALIBRIUM is they don't really have too much kill power besides their Splatoon wiper or the tri-stringer with a direct shot. So it's going to be very hard time to try and fight against those weapons here. And I'm eager to see exactly if they will be returning, and they will be returning from both sides.
Yeah, we're gonna see here. As you know, this is Clan Blitz, so it's gonna be a lot faster map mode, I would say, than Zones was earlier. So this is, in my opinion, a little bit of favor of Lifted here, since they can use this very up in your face, very up tempo comp to their advantage here. They can really use that to kind of blitz as fast through NOVALIBRIUM as possible. As you can see, a Noma there, unfortunately going for the flick. They're going to go down to Storm Heroes. Inkling looking for another one, not quite able to get it though, but the pencil for Lifted is going to go down as well, along with the roller. So now NOVALIBRIUM with an opportunity to push up, to get some space. Unfortunately, the blaster from Lifted able to get one member down. So now you're going to see that NOVALIBRIUM are going to be backed up at least a little bit. So that good start is quickly coming out of their grasp.
Oh, and a crucial pick here from Lifted. NOVALIBRIUM getting ready for their own push here is now forced to stay in a mid state here as Lifted gets yet another pick. 2 players down on their side. NOVALIBRIUM is just holding their ground, biding their time, waiting for the right opportunity to strike here. And this roller coming in from the underside gets one, potentially gets a second, but no, they decided back up, popping the bubble right under their side, and a disconnect from NOVALIBRIUM. Oh no!
No, that's unfortunate if you're Lifted, because you had the double kill, you were in position, and then just this battle has been ended. That's gotta suck.
Yeah, that's definitely it. A lot of it was going good there for Lifted to get ready to be the first ones to get points on the board there, and it's unfortunate for NOVALIBRIUM that they were disconnected there, and it's. Regardless of which side that you're on, that's gotta sting, because on the one hand, you might have saved yourself from a potential push there, or punish there, and losing on some points, but on the other hand, disconnects really aren't that much of a mood lifter or a thing to celebrate to begin with, so it's kind of like, what's the situation here?
We're gonna see, because I think now if you're Lifted, I think you can really, I would say you have the right game plans, but you can do the same thing, right? Like, it worked really well. You're in position, you got the kills to work with. You basically just have to run it back if you're Lifted. No, if you're NOVALIBRIUM, I would say be a little more patient, but like, because what makes Lifted's comp and their playstyle work so well is that they move really fast. Right? They have 3 really aggressive upfront weapons. They have these weapons that can kill really quickly, and they can put a lot of pressure. So I think if you're NOVALIBRIUM, the idea is kind of slow the game down, if that makes sense, since you have this chip damagey kind of comp, right?
Yeah.
So if you can slow it down and then kind of force Lifted to make mistakes, now turn the tide in your favor.
And I mean, the whole reason why you're calling yourself NOVALIBRIUM and the reason why you're playing tonight is to try and use that Nova Blaster to your, not Nova Blaster, the Nova Shot to the best of your ability. And here, with a comp like Lifted, with how aggressive they've been, their weapons aren't really that long range going into Nova. Nova, shockingly, outranges a good chunk of Lifted's own weapons here. And it's like, you're bringing Nova here, but you aren't necessarily playing around Nova after that from the second or third game here. And it really, I think the key here really is to play around the Nova. Use the chip damage to try and give the kills to your Wiper, or even the end zap being a surprising dual weapon that most people kind of are taken by surprise whenever they try to fight it, me included personally on that end. But use it all as a chip damage on top of the stringer to just keep your enemies weakened, so you can get the picks whenever you want and turn the fights on a dime.
Yeah, and I think that would really work out well for NOVALIBRIUM, because I think what went wrong for them in game number 2 was, well, mainly was that they were, I won't say playing too slow, they were playing on their back foot, right? And their comp really kind of thrives on just controlling a lot of space and making the enemy uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Their whole comp is predicated on the idea that, okay, we are just gonna take up a lot of space, because I believe the Nova has Ink Mine, I want to say. Does it have Ink Mine? I
think so.
I think it has Ink Mine. Yeah, they have Ink Mines. They have I think they have Ink Mines. They have auto bombs. They have suction bombs. They have all these bombs. They have the what you call it? They have the Wellstring, which of course Wellstring, the little arrows do some chip damage as well. So I think if they can play around that more, like you said, play around the chip damage of the Nova itself, that could be really, really good for them.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, it's just the fact that Nova and NZAP, and to an extent Whitebird, depending on how you play it with, can really put out a lot of pain. So the thing with aggro comps and what they want to try and abuse is your enemy team's lack of painting ability. But if you have weapons that paint a decent amount to a good amount, there really isn't any reason for an aggro comp to try to. There isn't a reason for an aggro comp to actually come in and surprise you, or come in out of nowhere and get a pick or two in enemy turf. You know, you as a playing Nova and Zap should be able to keep a good amount of decent control to keep those aggro weapons at bay, keep them pushed back, especially with the additional range from Nova. There really isn't a good reason why most of those aggressive weapons, especially Blasters, be on top of you like that if you're playing correctly. But you know, this is not me trying to say like, oh, you need to play this way, this way. You know,
you're playing wrong. Play better.
No.
You heard it here first, folks. Dark says you're playing the weapons wrong. Play them better.
No, this is coming from an NZAP shooter, man. Please, I love this, not NZAP, and Nova shot shooter. I want this weapon I genuinely want this weapon to work, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to play this weapon and how to properly use this weapon, so I'm just giving my own internal monologues of how I think I should use this weapon, but no, that's how, at least as I said before, at least that's how I think a Nova shot should be played and should be used here, because with both Blaster and Weapon and Blaster and Roller, I'm sorry, those weapons shouldn't be being able to take as much space as they do without the proper paint support on their side.
Yeah, well, we're gonna see. We're gonna go to game number 3, version 2. Let's see, both these teams, of course, have to stick with the comps that they had. So we're gonna see how their game plan changes up a little bit here. We're gonna see Lifted into the orange, Nova in the yeah, I was right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, in the blue.
Yes, indeed. Both of these two teams are now running it back to hopefully try and finish out this game number 3 without any interruptions. Both teams don't seem to be doing anything too differently here on their second time around. One pick does go out from Lifted, meaning Nova, and make that 2 picks going out from Lifted, meaning Nova has the opportunity here to try and take some space, making sure that Lifted has less playing room to try and retake mid here as they get their clam economy in place.
Yeah, we're gonna see here Storm with the very aggressive inkjet here, along with the members of Nova are gonna be there. That's what you talk about. 3 members are gonna get down, forcing Tacos to pop the crab. They're gonna go down as well. So now, if your Nova is about clam eco, Henlo getting another one, looking for even more, not quite able to get any more, but hey, that gives them the space they need to work with. They're taking them space to throw in the power clam and possibly some extra though. Looks like they're not quite gonna get in just yet, but now it starts. There you go, down to 62, 59, 53, 53 points, 50, 40. Hold on, they're still going. 38. I thought they were done. No, they were not. 38 points remaining. You know what? You will take that 10 times out of 10. So that's a very, very good first push for NOVALIBRIUM.
Yeah, well, what I initially thought would have been a push to just at least get that power clam deposited into the basket and get some points on the board, quickly pivoted to a huge lead and swing on their side. And NOVALIBRIUM, they're still going at it right now here. They have such good mid control that 2 were down almost immediately from Lifted as they're just trying to wide up in mid, playing this neutral game here of footsies to see who can get the next few picks here. But 2 down from both teams. It's gonna be hard to say exactly which one's gonna swing, but NOVALIBRIUM does have the tactical, so they have a little advantage here to play a bit more aggressively without being necessarily too overly punished.
And yeah, we're gonna see here Airtel forcing themselves to jump back here, so to protect from Lifted pushing, protect from Lifted pushing here. But NOVALIBRIUM kind of in a good spot here. Unfortunately, Lucas will go down here, but not without getting a trade as well from the Wellstring. So, you know, crisis averted for now at the very least, but now Lifted, you see, slowly making their way forward, slowly pushing their way up, slowly taking away the space from NOVALIBRIUM here. Storm forcing to back away, able to get one member though. That's really good. Very aggressive here as they see the clans being thrown, being passed around. There's a power going in, and there's even more scoring, breaking the penalty points. Nope, not quite. But Luca's gonna be there. Nope, not quite. Maybe Henlo will do it. Yes, able to get one. Two are gonna go downside to Lifted, but nope, not quite from them as well, as Nova able to get up to 28 points, and that will be the end of the push again. So now Lifted a lot scarier of a push in incoming, because they have 2 power clamps to work with now at the very least.
Yeah, NOVALIBRIUM has to be very careful with how they play out here in these last 2 minutes, because things can definitely spiral out of control. They did get an extended lead though, so it isn't necessarily a bad thing, a bad position to be in right now, but it's a very scary and precarious place to be right now, especially with Tactical on Lift's side. They can absolutely play the offensive here without too many repercussions here, but NOVALIBRIUM does pop their own cooler, and with the Inkjet as well to try and take out, and a beautiful shutdown from the Inkjet means that NOVALIBRIUM keeps their control on mid and does not lifted through at a single inch.
You know what? That reminds me of Splatoon 2, Splashdown getting shot down in midair. If you know, you know. So now we're going to see NOVALIBRIUM trying to push up once again. But you see Lifted kind of more together as one, more as a group, trying to push out and keep them away. The roller not quite able to get the kills, but at least forcing 2 members to jump out is very, very big. That takes away from Nova's immediate pushes, but not their long-term pushes, because you see both those members, does Nova and the Wellspring still have their clamps to work with here, as they also have 3 specials to work with. So very, very dangerous situation if you are Lifted here. 45 seconds remaining. You still have to get, what, 80 something points? I can't do math. 72, my bad. So you have to do a very, very large push here, and so far, you really haven't been able to get a sustained hold. You've been kind of pushed back this entire game. You've been off balance this entire game. The Swing's able to get one from a Noma able to get one, keep themselves alive along with the bubble, but they don't have a power to work with here, so we're going to see if they're able to get some jumps in from their teammates. Oh no, never mind. Not. What? Oh no, 5 points. Hold on. Wait.
Man, in the midst of the chaos, NOVALIBRIUM took the opportunity to not pay attention to what was behind them and just run straight forward to open up the power clan basket and stop Lifted from going in for a back half here. And now we're in overtime with about 20 seconds remaining, so Lifted does not have a lot of time to try and get that power clan to the other side of the map here, especially with 2 players down. NOVALIBRIUM is doing a beautiful job here, just keeping them at bay, and time is ticking with only 8 seconds remaining. I don't think Lifted can make it through with a delayed wipeout. NOVALIBRIUM takes game number 3.
98-0. That was the score. Lifted did not get a single power. They were close, especially at the end. They were close, but NOVALIBRIUM, they just played their game like we talked about earlier. They played to their advantage. They played at range. They made sure that they didn't get surprised by the roller or by the wiper. They made sure that these frontliners for Lifted were kept at bay, and it worked out really well, as you can clearly see. 98-0, which is insane.
You think a weapon comp like Pencil and Roller and Blaster, and I don't forget what even the last weapon was, a Splash, would be the one 98-0ing a weapon comp that's centered around Nova. Like, you'd think it would be the other way around, but no, NOVALIBRIUM did a beautiful job there, just flipping the script from that second game here and being the ones to be in the control of the majority of that game. And it was such a cool thing to see here. And now it's gonna be a question of, can they do it again? They are at match point here, so they're not, if they lose the next one, there isn't necessarily the end of the world here, but they do want to win this game so they can go on to their next set and knock Lifted out.
Yeah, but we're going to have the TC haggle. So again, I don't want to say this map mode or this mode in particular is favored towards NOVALIBRIUM, but again, if you look at Lifted's comp, this very fast, very up-tempo comp, I feel like there will be a time, maybe, there will be a disconnect between the frontliners and the tower, if that makes sense. Like, you know, you have a roller, you have a blaster, you have a splash, or mainly roller and blaster, right? These 2 very in-your-face weapons. I feel like Lifted might fall into the trap of having those two push up kind of far away from the tower, and then you're kind of leaving the tower to fight by itself. Only it may be like a 2v4 or 2v2, right? So I feel like there's a chance that there's that disconnect happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Uh, it's hard to see right now because we haven't seen how exactly Lifted plays on tower control. At least on our block, I'm not sure if they've been streamed yet in the previous block here, but with a weapon comp like Blaster and Roller on tower control, it really leaves your tower very vulnerable if you don't have the proper support here. Not to say that Splash really isn't a fighting weapon, but it's relegated to a support role more often than not for a reason. It's not necessarily the best at fighting, but I think the little bit of a clinch pin here for Lifted to defend themselves here is Pencil. Pencil being a very decent having decent holding power. If it's the one riding tower, it could be a very hard thing to push through if they don't have the proper specials here. Using Hammer to engage on the tower to at least keep that Pencil distracted long enough so you can actually go in and close the distance, or using the Inkjet there, but using Inkjet against Pencil is kind of scary in and of itself because of the sort of the range distance there to try and close it. One weapon having a more hit scan style weapon, while the other one being a slow projectile. That could be a very scary fight there, but no, it could be very tricky here if Lifted doesn't play it right.
Yeah, it could be as well, but also it could also be very dangerous on the flip side for NOVALIBRIUM, because if you let the Roller and Blaster cook, it can be a very short game. Even with the checkpoint, it can be a very short game, especially on Hagglefish, where there isn't, how do I say this? There isn't a whole lot of variability when it comes to the map itself. Like, it's pretty much a straightaway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so you know what's going to happen, and if you don't deal with the Roller and Blaster effectively, then they're going to be in your base, just causing as much mayhem and chaos as possible. And then that basically gives the tower a free way in. Especially after that after that second checkpoint, which is like the real choke point, since you're right underneath that top right side, it is very, very hard to come back, because you're going to have both frontliners are going to be there by that time. You're going to have the Splash or your support and the Pencil. So it can spiral very, very quickly, to say the least.
Yeah, that second checkpoint is a point where I think is very integral to fight for and defend for, depending on what your position currently is at the moment of the game. It's such an integral part of this map that you really need to know like what your game plan is to attack it and what your game plan is to defend it, because as you said just now, that's when things can really spiral. That's when that snowballing can just turn into an avalanche. It's so hard to try to actually come back from a position like that it's virtually a death sentence, especially if you get to that third checkpoint. Your game's pretty much good as gone there, unless you have just some hero play, pull it out at the last second there to get a miracle wipeout right before before game is called here. So it's those points is very like, it's how well you take control of those points, or how well you keep control of those points, is really going to dictate a lot of your pressure and a lot of your tempo here for the majority of this set, or majority of this game.
Yeah, so we're gonna see as both these teams really thinking it out. Like, especially since I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a GG strikes. Meaning, I wouldn't be surprised mainly. Tacos for Lifted switching over to the Neo Splash, I forgot the name. The Neo Splash for the strikes as well. So I'm excited to see, because again, I think Lifted wants to keep kind of their identity of that's very aggressive aggressive comp, since even in game number 1 they had the Luna Blaster and the Carbon. When they switched over to Roller Blaster, they still it was still like the same core identity. It was just they went a little bit longer range, a little bit safer with these picks. So I'm excited to see what they got. I'm excited to see what changes, if anything at all.
You know what? I'm gonna, since we have the time, I'm gonna throw out here. I think my putting my tinfoil hat here. I think if they're gonna make a mode switch here and they don't want to run it back with Neo Blaster and Roller. I think we're gonna see S-Blast and Kraken Roller. I think that could be a very fun thing to see here to pull out, because Kraken on tower speaks it out of itself, you know. And S-Blast, I'm a Blaster player, by the way, so you're about to hear some you know, self-instigating here. But the S-Blast really can play around a lot of these corners and a lot of these ledges and just be very annoying with its 2 firing modes here. But we'll see if I'm right by any capacity here, as we're now finally heading into this 4th game, match point for NOVALIBRIUM, and just seeing exactly what changes, if anything, these 2 teams are going to be bringing here today here. And we don't see that many changes here on NOVALIBRIUM's side, and we do see a big change here as this V-Slosher comes out from Lifted.
Yeah, they're sticking with the V Splash, going to the V Slash instead of a Blaster. Very interesting from there. Like I said, they do have the GG strikes. They do keep the crab take as well, which is very useful, especially if you can get it set up on the tent for defense or offense. Be very big here, as Tacos you're gonna see gonna force their way in, but Anoma will get caught out and go down almost instantaneously, as now Lifted force member are being forced back really hard here, as Henlo with the hammer, able to get one on that wall. Very clutch for them. So now NOVALIBRIUM will take their lead very quickly here, and you see them starting to push up very slowly.
Yeah, a very good opening game by NOVALIBRIUM means that they're able to get this first checkpoint without too many issues here. One player does go down from seemingly out of nowhere as Strikes is used, and just like that, the house of cards goes crumbling as NOVALIBRIUM are stopped before they can get that first checkpoint lifted, and are now the ones going to be on the aggressive here to try and push them back, especially with Tactical or online. They definitely can try and use this as best they can to make sure they can be the ones to secure that those first checkpoints, especially with Strikes coming in to just choke off that corner there on their side and choking it off on ramp. We do see the hammer thrown and get a good snipe on the tower, but I don't think it was enough, as that first checkpoint's down for Lifted.
That first checkpoint will fall. Tacos on this top right side with the crab at the ready, forcing themselves out. Very crucial there, so they keep that crab at the ready, but Storm able to get some damage onto it, and it goes down almost instantly, as we're going to see the bucket start sharking underneath this tent area, forcing another one back. So now NOVALIBRIUM, very good job of responding, not panicking too much once that first checkpoint fell. So now, even though yes, they have quite a ways to go, it's not that far distance. It's not that far distance. They still have an opportunity to get a really good chance at getting a lead.
Yeah, no, there's a 25-point difference between these 2 teams right now, which isn't really too much. But to factor in the checkpoint from oh my god, I almost choked my own spit. To factor in the checkpoint from the NOVALIBRIUM side means that 25-point differential is a bit bigger than it might seem, considering the fact that you have to stand still for a good chunk of that time. But we're going to see exactly how NOVALIBRIUM wants to play it out here, as they do take this tower and trying to push it up at least a little bit so they can get ready for their own huge push once the opportunity comes in. And with Tactical Online, once again, they're definitely going to be trying to look for that good large opening to get the pick they need to really crack Lift down. But no, one player does go down for NOVALIBRIUM. Crab take on the tent there means that Lift is going to take good area control here, and are able to repel NOVALIBRIUM's push here.
Yeah, they're able to repel it really very well here. So now if you're Lifted, 2 minutes to go left in this game, so have to kind of hold on here. You can't let yourself kind of fall to NOVALIBRIUM. You have to make sure that you have a really solid defense here. You gotta make sure that they cannot get anything going. No free picks here, as one's gonna go down. The bucket jumping out very quickly here, as that hammer will not quite get them. But you see right here, Lifted with 3 specials at the rate. They pop 2 of them right away to stop this tower stop the tower from getting to that first checkpoint. So very clutch again from them. Very solid defense here, as you see the bucket here trying to go for the wellspring, able to jump out as well. But NOVALIBRIUM are going to go 2, make that 3 down, possibly a delayed wipe here. Yeah, 3 members are going to go down from NOVALIBRIUM here. So now if you're Lifted, you're feeling really good, because you have 90 seconds remaining in this game, and you have control of the tower, so you're looking really good.
Yeah, still with that 50-point differential, that's gonna get extended here, as Lifted is gonna just narrowly push that tower right before they can get the lead. Any additional points there, 2 players going down, make that 3 players going down. That's practically a wipe out here. NOVALIBRIUM is now going to go on the hyper offensive here to to try and meet Lifted's members as they come in here, especially with Tactical on once again what might be their last push here from both teams, and Lifted and use any tools they have at the ready, at the disposal here to try and stop this upcoming push. NOVALIBRIUM using their own specials to counteract them. Craptic is cancelled, which is huge and horrible for Lifted as they lost a huge area control here. And that first checkpoint is not close, as good as gone, but close. Not quite. Only losing their entire team to finally get it. That is not good for these final 30 seconds.
Yeah, very unfortunate. You got that first checkpoint, but at what cost? 3 members are gonna go down. Lifted, able to recollect themselves, able to just kind of force back into mid, force back into neutral here. So if you're NOVALIBRIUM, you have to force a fight and win it. Unfortunately, Henlo is gonna go down. 10 seconds remain in this game. You have to at least get onto the tower. You see the GG striker, the bucket just holding back, making sure that when the time is right, they're able to get there and pop those strikes, as you're gonna see on that top right side. There's the hammer, not quite able to get the kill. The strikes are possibly gonna do it. They're close to it. Wait, hold on. Nova's still on tower. Unfortunately, 2 members are gonna go down. Their storm on tower is not quite going to matter. So Lifted, after a very clutch first push, they're able to hold on and fend off NOVALIBRIUM, as now they're forced to a game number 5.
Man, just watching that bucket go pretty much all the way back to their spawn to make sure they have no opportunity to lose those strikes before they can even pop them. It both hurts a little to watch that being a proper strategy, and just it is entertaining to see that being a proper strategy to begin with. But no, Lifted did an extraordinarily well job to fight back against NOVALIBRIUM and bringing themselves to match point. And now with the final set of the game among us here, Splatoon to Mahi Mahi Resort, we've seen that these games could generally go either way, but as history goes so far in this set, NOVALIBRIUM may be slated to win this set and match here if Lifted doesn't try and do something drastic to try and change up their tempo and keep NOVALIBRIUM off their feet.
I mean, yeah, if you're Lifted, you're feeling pretty good, especially after that last game, mainly because we were able to do your game plan really well. Along with that, you were able to keep NOVALIBRIUM at bay, which is very, very clutch for them. They were able to always stop any pushes, especially any pushes that try to get that first checkpoint, because I believe that NOVALIBRIUM only broke through that first checkpoint, I want to say at like the minute mark. I want to say like it was only 1 minute remaining. So just being able to hold on for that long, so by the time that those final 10 seconds came and you saw the bucket just jump back and just hold on the strike. So we're gonna see if they're able to continue this momentum as we go to game number 5, Mahi Mahi Resort. Match points for both teams. Let's see if anything changes, or they're gonna stick to the basics.
Yeah, I mean, with what these two teams bring here, it's going to be very crucial for their tempo and how they want to try and end the set with. We do see the Tri-Stringer bring out its alternate kit here for the first time in this set, which I find very interesting because that's the one with super chumps, and it could be, with how small this map is in the beginning half of it, it could be very lethal for playing it into Lifted here. So this could be a very good start for NOVALIBRIUM, especially if they get that first pick, first hold here, already running with their points on their side.
Yeah, we're gonna see exactly what they want to do. They have this they have this this Tri-Stringer just doing what they do, trying to support a team with some paint. But unfortunately, they're gonna be forced back as Lifted, or is gonna slowly trying to get their way into the zone, but it's not gonna mean a whole lot as NOVALIBRIUM are gonna be there once again. They're the chums we talked about earlier and taking up a majority of the space in front of Lifted, forcing them back even further here. Storm, they see this roller, they know what to do. There's the inject coming out, not quite able to get the kill just yet, but a teammate is able to follow up on that really, really well, as NOVALIBRIUM are still gonna keep control of the zone. 40 points remaining, 35 points remaining, and NOVALIBRIUM are looking very strong with no sign of blue planes anywhere in mid.
yeah, Lifted needs to do something here now if they want to try and stay alive in this set for a little bit longer. That first pick is very crucial in their game plan to stay alive, but no, forcing back a little bit. The strike strategy they use to try and hopefully contest the zone, and they do manage to flip it, giving a hefty penalty points of 68 to NOVALIBRIUM, but not without their own players being lost, as they're now 2 down once again. NOVALIBRIUM just keeping their cool, holding mid as best they can to ready for their counter strike here as soon as they can, but no, that is a huge pick from Lifted as NOVALIBRIUM is forced to properly reset here for good.
Yeah, that panic cooler might be what allowed Lifted to get even more points than possibly than NOVALIBRIUM will want him to get. We're gonna see. Unfortunately, the hammer not quite able to get it. But even though they weren't even quite get that kill, NOVALIBRIUM able to get into zone and at least get a penalty onto Lifted here. Storm gonna get one before going down to the pencil here. So we're gonna see about a little more than halfway through the game here, and so far it's very back and forth, but now Lifted threatening to score a lot of points here.
Yeah, with sitting at a 52-point differential here, Lifted still has a little bit of points to shoot through before they finally can contest NOVALIBRIUM's lead here. But with those penalty points good as gone, it could be a very real possibility here as they use strikes to try and slow NOVALIBRIUM down. But with Super Jump coming on their side to try and at least scatter Lifted about and get a lot of pay on the ground at once, it's gonna be a good flip on their side as NOVALIBRIUM gets a few players down. But no, Lifted stands their ground, 2 down from NOVALIBRIUM, and they hold strong. They're going closing in on those penalty points as the lead is about to swap here within the next few takes. NOVALIBRIUM has to do something here now if they want to stay alive in this game. But 3 down. I think that's good as gone as Lifted stands their ground.
There's a crab.
This game.
Desperation is the roller's best friend. We saw it there. Anoma just able to get the clutch pick onto Henlo at the end there, and from there the house of cards fell for NOVALIBRIUM. They were looking really strong, and then all it took was one opening, one little gap, one little break in the defense, and Lifted just took full advantage of it, able to just what I believe that wasn't quite 100 though. I believe it was it was close to though. I think they got to it was like 80 points they got to before, and then they just take it all down from there. So very clutch if you're Lifted. NOVALIBRIUM, that's gotta hurt. Like, you were right there. You were 11 points remaining, but unfortunately desperation just was not in your favor. Like I said, desperation is a roller's best friend, and that's what they took advantage of.
Yeah, man, oh man, that set was extraordinary. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but we've been here already for a good decent chunk of time, and it's just the first set here. So I know for a fact the remainder of these sets coming up here is gonna be one for a treat. But NOVALIBRIUM, you did extraordinarily well to make it this far with a Nova shot centered comp. It did so well, but it's unfortunate that you failed to lift it here at the very end on the game where it probably mattered the most to try and win with it. Man, oh man, regardless of the outcome, I still gotta give you props for doing what you did, because what a show that was.
Yeah, it was very entertaining to say the least. So yeah, NOVALIBRIUM, unfortunately, this is where your tourney run ends. But hey, you can't be happy. You made it to Great White. You made the semifinals with, like you said, Nova splatter shot. So hey, even if you don't win the $50, that's pretty good. It's pretty good how far you made it.
Most definitely. But as you know, we do have another game coming you up right now, folks. But as we are getting ready for that game, a quick ad read here. As you all know, Gamers for Giving is coming up here, and Dapple Productions and IPR are teaming up to run a charity tournament with Gamers Outreach called Gamers for Giving. Their goal is to raise $1,000 to help bring the joy of gaming to hospitalized children and their families. It's going to be a 2-day tournament that takes place this weekend, actually, Saturday and Sunday, April 12th to the 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So sign up at the Start DG you see up on your screen here, folks, to try and play for some fun for the charity, or don't watch the stream and donate as you can, as it will be live here, both, as I said before, on IPL and Adapt Productions throughout the entire week.
Yeah, listen, gaming, very good, as you can see. So if you can, give a little to Gamers for Giving, help everyone, help spread the love, help spread the hobby that we all love here. We all love video games, so hey, everyone everyone needs the opportunity to play.
Most definitely, and I've commentated for this last year when it was on Apples only, and it was a good showing regardless of the reasoning. But always give as you can. Never put yourself in too much of a financial stress. Given the current circumstances of these days, but if you can donate $1, it generally would help a lot. So please come check it out here if you can. As you see right here, once again, sign up at dapple.inc/GFG for the tournament if you wish to play, or just swing by on this weekend to donate and see the entertainment for you all, brought to you by a lot of good casters this weekend too.
Yeah, so with that'll be it for us for now. So we're gonna, give these teams a couple minutes to get set up, make sure everything's set up properly. But don't go anywhere, because we have more SOS, particularly our final set, our grand finals, which is going to be short and sweet. The #1 overall seed versus Lifted, the team we just saw. So I know y'all don't want to miss that. So we'll be back to you in a couple minutes. Well, we told you it'd be quick. Welcome back. We are here with SOS Grand Finals, as we have a team we've seen just a couple minutes ago in Lifted versus our #1 overall seed. Short and sweet. I am Topic, joined once again by Dark. So Dark, you ready for this?
Oh, I'm very ready for this, and man, oh man, if that set was anything to go off from what we've seen them Lifted, I'm excited to see exactly how they're going to be fighting against this monster that is the #1 seed in this tournament here today on this week's SOS. First up, we have Robo Ramen Splat Zones, a beloved map mode of mine personally. I love Robo Ramen so much, and I'm eager to see exactly how these two teams will be playing around it this time around.
Yeah, I'll be interested as well, because I think for Splat Zones in particular, Rumble Ramen does, I don't want to say boil down to which team has ramp, but having the opponent's ramp is a very, very big plus side, because that is, of course, the main way to get into zone. It's not the only way, of course, because this map, unlike other maps, has actual flank routes, which is pretty good. But I will say that a majority of your resources as a team are going to be focused on that main ramp area.
Yeah. It's definitely, that ramp definitely needs to be a vital point to hold here, especially if you as the attacker can get properly set up here. You can definitely lock out your opponents here if you play very well with your specials and play very well with your picks here. And as we know here from the last set we just saw from Lifted, running a comp of Blaster and Roller for the majority of it, with some support with Pencil as well and the Splash. I wouldn't surprise me to see exactly those teams of those weapons return here from their side, and those weapons do return here with that Slosh as a last game swap in coming back here once again.
Oh, I think a very interesting weapon from Short and Sweet. Not a very short or very sweet weapon. An E-Leader 4K. Very interesting, especially against a Pencil. I'm really excited to see how they're able to maneuver that matchup, since you do outrange it very well, but since you are, again, a very, very slow weapon, you're very I won't say exposed, but it's hard for you to move, as you see right there with a very, very nice snipe. So now we're gonna see what shorts we can do here.
A good snipe from short and sweet, but it doesn't convert to too much as that lead is already swapped, lifted on their aggression already. Here, getting a 1-for-1 trade there on that ramp with the hammer here, and now both things are at odds once again. Wavebreaker doesn't come out to try and get some chip damage on the board here, but with the bubbler coming in to slow them down, and the splash down coming from short and sweet. Specials are being popped left and right. The crab take coming in once again, technical from short and sweet. There's so many specials going on here, and Lifted just manages to stay strong through all of it, hitting 1-for-1 trade here as they're already at the 50-point mark.
Yeah, Lifted holding on well. They're gonna go 2 members down here. Taco's able to get very clutch kill before going down themselves, so that get that nasty E leader as the splash are able to come out here and give the short and sweet just enough time to recapture the zone here. So they managed to stop the bleeding for now, but the question is, can they push forward? Can they get towards the enemy ramps? Because so far, they've been in neutral or in mid the entire game.
Yeah, how short and sweet wants to try and play this out so that they can get their advantage is going to be very vital here. They do manage to push Lifted back a little bit, but with charge strikes coming in almost immediately, Lifted just going on their aggression once again, using those specials as great openings for the remainder of their teams so they can get the picks they need is a very tried and true for themselves. But it seems like Short and Sweet is starting to see through that as they were able to punish that crab almost immediately. They get 2 picks of their own, and now Short and Sweet is threatening the lead swap already with only 18 points remaining on their side before the lead is swapped. And another pick here from the A leader means that lead is most likely going to get swapped here as Lifted is forced back on their side of the map and going to be almost probably locked out here.
Yeah, we're gonna see his splash on coming out, able to get 1 member of Lifted. You see Tiki Taka going in with another member as well, able to get another 3 members down. So Short and Sweet is gonna turn this around. The wipeout to put a nice little bow on it, along with the hammer throw to add a little insult to injury, and that will do it. Short and Sweet, they were down pretty big early, but they rallied, they came back, and they held on to win that first game.
Yeah, I mean, Lifted really had a good opening on their side and for the majority of that game. But I think once things start coming down a little bit on their side, Short and Sweet saw exactly how they wanted to punish it, acted quickly, and kept them stagnant for the majority of the game after that. It was such an incredible thing to watch, actually, from Short and Sweet side, to see exactly them just keep their cool and not letting such a huge point loss on their side affect them, and manage to make a game plan that they want to try and punish and execute that punish against Lifted and bringing this game around towards the tail end of that game there.
I mean, hey, they're the #1 seed for a reason, showing some resilience, showing their ability to fight back, showing their ability to adapt mid-game. As we're going to go to game number 2 here, Clan Blitz on Inkblot. I don't think a lot is going to change from either team. I'm very interested in that Elia, though. I do think, okay, on defense is really strong, of course. You have that little attic area on that top right. Yeah, top right was really strong. I do think, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe from the stack area, you know what I'm talking about, like that left stack area, like in front of your basket, I think Leader can hit attic or bats. I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly, but it's somewhere around there, right? I feel like I'm sort of close. You know what I mean?
It can definitely hit those areas depending on how you're probably standing and where you're situated exactly. I mean, E-Leader here can definitely be very scary, and if you know a lot of the good positionings here on this map mode specifically, it can be very oppressive, especially pushing in. If that E-Leader is the one defending your basket, you really want to make sure you have the specials to properly flush it out here before you even think about getting close to that basket. With how open some of the areas are on this map, especially the area leading up to the basket, with how open it can be, it's gonna be that E-Leader can be very scary here.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I expect Short and Sweet to once again kind of play around that year, just knowing that they have that the sniper in their bags, knowing they have at least, I don't want to say a safe place to retreat to, but they do have somewhere that is, you know, very scary if you're an enemy. And if you're Lifted, I think like they had a game plan. Like it really worked out. like they had control. They got down to, I believe, 32 points on the game number 1, but I think they kind of ran out of steam, right? They, I think, lost one fight, or they lost like a fight or two, and then from there it just snowballed into a situation where they were pushed back really far, really fast. So I think if you're lifted, I think the biggest challenge for you, or the biggest not challenge, what's the word? I'm blanking. I need help. Well, I'm blanking. Obstacle. It is obstacle. The biggest obstacle for you is to make sure that you don't spiral. Basically, you make sure that you are consistent, and you make sure that you aren't giving up too much space and losing too many team fights in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair for Lifted as well, they just came off of a game that was very, very tense and very, very probably stressful for them with how close that last set was that we just watched here. So Lifted maybe just a little bit frazzled from that last game, but they do have a little bit of wiggle room here to try and just properly recenter themselves and make sure it doesn't get too much of them on their side as we head into game number 2, short and sweet versus Lifted. We'll see exactly what changes, if any, we're gonna see from either side, and I'm eager to see exactly what's gonna be bringing out here.
Ooh,
and we don't see the E leader, but we do see the ZF coming out from short and sweet side. On top of no, I know what you meant. Yeah, practically the fireman here in this game. But no, the other interesting point, and what I like to call the gambler's weapon, is the 52 Gaiā.
Yeah, 52 Gaiā. I believe the carbon's also new, so very interesting. A lot of switches for short and sweet, and so far it's working. Very, very aggressive weapons. 2 members uplifted are going to go down. The cooler's going to come out for short and sweet to kind of multiply this lead here. As nice teamwork there from Love and the Carbon, able to get another member down uplifted, and you can see how quickly they're moving. Like, it's absolutely nothing. Lifted doesn't have the opportunity to really get set, as another one's going to go down. 2 members are going to go down for short and sweet though, but you can see Love still up there, able to get more clams, and Thirsty is going to be there up there as well with 2 clams at the ready, trying to get 1 member. The Zuka's going to come out instead, able to get them 30 or 53 points remaining. They get 50 points remaining. Taco's going to go down as well, and they're still going 44 with more in the bag, as a couple more going to go in. 35 points remaining, and that might be, I think it is, don't prove me wrong, please don't prove me wrong, that is going to be the end of the push. And short and sweet, very, very quick, very, very aggressive, very, very big first clams push.
No, man, short and sweet. 51 keeps true to their name here and make this set short and sweet with a 35 points remaining push on their side. 65 points scored in 1 single push. That's very impressive as Lifted now trying to gear up for their own push here with Bubbler under the Power Clan basket. Very good attempt here to try and keep them at bay, getting players picked off one by one. That lead is slowly sinking though. Short and sweet starting to struggle a little bit against Lifted's pressure, but with 3 down from Lifted, short and sweet is going to be able to clean up the remaining members of Lifted and keep them out of their base and clean them up.
Yeah, I think very good from Lifted, but I think they just didn't have that sustained push that short and sweet had. As you can see, they're pushing once again. Harshi is gonna go down, but not before they were to get the power in as well. So short and sweet are going to keep up the scoring, possibly eat through their penalty points, as they have 6 more to make. 6 more points remaining. Thirsty is going to go down to a Nomad there, and short and sweet are still going to be there. Harshi has 7 clams at the ready, able to get some of them. 18 points remaining. Only Harshi with clams left. They're going to be forced back as well. So Lifted able to fend off short and sweet once again, but that's another massive blow to Lifted here. 18 points remaining, as there are still 2 minutes to go in this game.
Yeah, things are starting to look a little bit dire for Lifted here. We're halfway through this game, and Lifted has such a huge lead right now. I believe that it's going to be around a 45-point differential. No, I'm sorry, math is hard right now, but there's so much going on right now. I think that's 35-point differential, as Lifted is going to be trying to take these fights against short and sweet and to see exactly if they can get that first opening pick on their side, so they can get any sort of momentum going on their side. But Tactical is almost good as gone here, but they do get a good pick here. Gets the 52 Gaiā. A lot of their fighting power down with the Tri-Strikes coming in and try and clear some space. Lifted is gonna still pushing for that push on their side, using the grappling to create even more space. But no, short and sweet is gonna be quick to punish it, and 2 players down for short and sweet means that Lifted, even though they had the player advantage here, they lose 2 players out in those fights, and now things are still in a relative neutral game.
Yeah, and I think what the biggest problem for Lifted was there is that they had the space, they didn't have the clams. They had 7 or 8 that entire time, so they didn't really have a power to work with here. So now Short and Sweet are gonna punish that very heavily, able to get onto the Lifted very, very quickly here. But once again, they have no clams of their own. They do manage to build up a pity relatively soon here. Love just staying alive, gonna be found out they're gonna go down as well. So a minute to go in this game. Harsh is going to go down as well, so no ball for Short and Sweet. So now if you're Lifted, you still have 35 points between you and Short and Sweet. But hey, you can get started really soon here.
Man, so to bring it back a little bit, we just see a 2-for-2 trade here in mid, so there really is going to be too much going on here for the next few seconds. But to bring it back a little bit there, the 52 Gaiā, for those of you who are old like me, know exactly what just happened there, and that is what we call is showering. Showering was thought to be long gone dead for a long time ago, but we see it here today. It's still alive, it's still kicking, even though in niche scenarios again. But no, 30 seconds remaining on this game. He's a Short and Sweet, just has to play the time game here, make sure they don't get punished by Lifted, as they're going to go in and try and make a breakaway for their Power Clan basket, but no, they're looking to at least try and defend here as they get the Trizuka out to get any straight picks here. 10 seconds remaining. I believe we will be going to overtime here, folks.
Yeah, 15 or less than 10 seconds remaining here. 5 seconds. You see the crab is out as well. It's only the pencil and the crab. Unfortunately, 1, 2 are going to go down. No more balls in favor of Lifted, and that I believe will be it. Yes, it will. Short and Sweet, keeping true to their name, keeping this Short and Sweet with a 2-0 lead over the Lifted, looking very, very strong here.
Yeah, 2-0 in finals here is a little bit scary, but I am a man of the people, and I do give a little bit of hope and energy for Lifted to show that, to give them that reverse sweep potential here. And what greater story here from barely winning out your semifinals match against a very strong team, and to go 2 down in your first 2 games in grand finals to only reverse sweep it at the very end. That would be a story to tell, and I hope that that's a story we'll see here. But in order for that story to begin here, we first need to look at their first step here, and that's gonna be Tower Control Mako Mart.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I do think this map mode, or this mode in general, does slightly favor Lifted, very slightly though, because you know they have Blaster and Roller, these weapons that can really take advantage of these ledges here. But even that, Short and Sweet have been they've been really consistent. I would say they've been playing. That's way I could put it. They've been playing Lifted game plans better than Lifted. Okay, it's gonna be really nerdy. Dark. Please tell me you at least know League of Legends.
No, I do.
Bit. Okay, so you know Silas?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how you can steal someone's ults and use it against them?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It feels like Short and Sweet is taking Lifted's game plan and using it against them, but you know, slightly better.
Yeah, it's definitely showing that Short and Sweet are definitely going on the same kind of mode of just a hyper aggressive, like 2 frontliners with a back support backline to help just keep things painted and whatnot. And it's showing that they can actually do it a bit better than Lifted. And the question here for Lifted anyways, is one, have they noticed this going into this third game? And 2, if they have noticed it, are they going to make any major weapon changes? Are they going to make any game plan changes? Or do they want to try and do something different? Or do they think that what they're doing is the correct path, and are they going to stick with it here? There's a few different opportunities here to go in different ways, and really what happens here on the beginning is really going to dictate how the remainder of the set's going to go. And we do see the Ealer come back from Short and Sweet, and we do see the Blaster return from Lifted. This could be a good thing, this could be a bad thing. Only time will tell.
Yeah, we're gonna see here. Lifted is on their final breath here. They need to win this game along with 2 others, but we're going to see as again Short and Sweet going back to that bucket, or going over to that bucket. As we're going to see, they're going to go 1 member down, 1-for-1 trade here, as Thirsty able to get a number 4 going down themselves. So Lifted looking relatively strong here, as the cooler is going to be used by Short and Sweet to try to mitigate the effects of them, you know, kind of losing that first team fight here. Unfortunately, 1 member of Lifted is going to go down as well. So Short and Sweet, they are not giving a lot that much space base. Ooh, very close. Both of those members were seeing at least a little bit of red there, but unfortunately for Lifted, not quite able to do a whole lot. They're going to get wiped out, so short and sweet with the opportunity here to get a very big lead.
Yeah, even though short and sweet managed to lose out some early points, some points on the early game here, they are going to be able to try at least take that first checkpoint. Maybe even do take that first checkpoint. They do take that first checkpoint, are cruising onto that second checkpoint. Lifted, struggling to try, at least try and stay in fighting here. A 2-for-2 scenario here from both sides. Both teams are desperately trying to fight around this tower to maintain control here, but with Lifted just being all over the place. Short and sweet somehow not falling there as they get one, potentially get a secondary. But no, the blaster does play around the corner here, and we are at a bit of a neutral state once again, as Lifted is going to try and take this tower to the other side as short and sweet, backing up just at least a little bit.
Yeah, they're forcing short and sweet to back up. Like, how long can they do that, and how quickly can the rest of the team move up? That's a good start there, as Love's going to go down for short and sweet. Maybe another one. Yes, there it is. Thirsty going to go down, so no strikes. Another lead now. No leader as well. So now Lifted, not quite a red carpet laid out here, but they're able to at least be a little bit safer getting around that, or getting through that first checkpoint, as they're able to take the lead here. Unfortunately, was that a bomb? I think a bomb off the bubble got two, so very unfortunate if you're Lifted. So that leads to basically a delayed wipeout. Just very unfortunate timing there.
Yeah, unfortunate thing happened there. You were gearing up for a very good long push there, but it got a bit short. Luckily for you, though, you do manage to get lead here, but with short and sweet playing the same game plan, it's going to be hard to tell exactly if that's going to be be impactful or not. Short and sweet did lose a few players here before they can even get the tower moving too far ahead, so Lift is going to look to try and take control of mid, not leaving their backs a bit open for this back flank here from the carbon roller. They're able to take one. No, they get shut down as Lifted. His nose the better, and they're able to be ready for that upcoming push, even though they lose out here to this E-leader. A very powerful and very impressive weapon here if it takes up too much space far forward, and it's going to take a lot of space far forward as they get another pick.
Very a lot. Okay, so very underrated. Shout out to Harshi. There's a lot of really plucked snipes like have been happening like in the background, so very good from them. So we're gonna see what happens here, as now short and sweet only 68 points, 60 the points, so only 8 points separate these two teams, and I feel like short and sweet, they're on the precipice of taking the lead here.
Yeah, short and sweet could try and make it mad dash for the lead swap here, but 2 down with Lifted is not an ideal scenario for them on their end. They're gonna try and throw their lives away to stop that tower, maybe get a few extra picks in here, but each fight is getting a 1-for-1 trade, and that's not looking good for Lifted side, as that tower keeps on moving forward and forward. Already up 16 points on short and sweet side. Lifted has to make a little bit of extra more work to get done if they want to try and take away this game. We're in the final minute of this game, potentially of this set, and so Lifted has a lot of pressure sitting on them if they want to try and stay alive for at least one game more. A mad dash from this carbon roller, it gets shut down, and 2 players down from short sweet means Lifted has potentially an opportunity to take the lead swap point here once again.
Yeah, we're gonna see here Lifted only 14 points separate these teams, and not that far of a distance here, as they're gonna start the trek here. The GG strike though, very, very unfortunate. The very end of that strike clipped onto the pencil there, so they're gonna go down as well. Short and sweet able to galley stop the tower for now. Unfortunately, they're going to go 2 members down here, so we're going to see if they're able to really hold on to this lead here, this very, very short lead. Only 5 points separating these two teams. Lifted on the tower, 50 points remaining. We're going to jump on in that tower to bring it back to neutral. 2 members Lifted are going to go down, make that 3 members. It's only the roller able to find 1, not quite able to find anything else, but now if you're Lifted, you have to go to the tower no matter what. It's no more time for stalling. Unfortunately, Noma will go down. Trying to get on the tower there. Wait, hold on. Overtime, 3 members wipe out. Oh, it looked so good at the end for Lifted, but short and sweet. The very titular thing they just did, kept it short and sweet. They ended the game. They ended the sets. They end the tournament as this week's SOS winners over Lifted.
man, oh man, that final half of that third game was really starting to look up for Lifted as they were starting to get things going on their side of this, but it's short and sweet. There was something that they were doing specifically against Lifted that just kind of faltered at the end there, and even though Lifted did such a good job, such an extraordinary job to make it this hard, to do what they've done so far today, to get stopped by a 3-0 sweep against short and sweet, that's gotta hurt a little bit, but you're still gonna be proud for making it this far at the very least.
I mean, yeah, Lifted, you were there. It was just that final team fight just didn't work out in your favor. I feel like it all stemmed from their pencil dying at the very last second to that one strike. Short and sweet just saw that opportunity and just collapsed onto that. So, unfortunate if you're Lifted, if you're short and sweet, that was scary. Especially that was very scary at the end.
Yeah, I think the final score, not counting the additional push, I don't even remember if they had an additional push at the end there. I think the final scoring there towards the end there's only 3 points separating the two, so it genuinely could have gone either way. But what really made the game there was just that unfortunate pencil sitting on the tower got nicked by the tri-strikes and then just eviscerated them on contact, which is that added situations like that, that's the last thing you want to see here. But man, oh man, big congratulations for Short and Sweet for winning this week, or this bi-weekly SOS here, SOS number 184 Lifted. You got second place there. It stings a little, yeah, but you made it this far, so still be proud for what you did.
Yeah, like also on top of this, also our third place match is also finished, and Time won that in a 3-0 sweep over NOVALIBRIUM. So they will finish at fourth. Time will finish at third. So once again, congrats to Short and Sweet. Very unfortunate for Lifted their second place, but hey, second place still made podium.
Yeah, indeed. It still will be good for your results regardless of what happens tonight and how you feel about it. But man, oh man, what a set that was and what a block that was from us. There was both of the two games that both of the two sets we saw here tonight were so much fun to watch, and I very much enjoyed watching them here. But as time goes on, all things must come to an end, and we're at the end of our block topic. So anything else you want to say, add, or start plugging in as we wrap things up?
Yeah, you can find me mainly on Blue Sky now, but sometimes on Twitter as well, at Topical2 on both websites. You know, post mainly where I'm commentating next, or just whatever I feel like. Dark, what about you?
Well, you can find me at SPF_Dark and most social media websites, or SPF Dark for at Blue Sky specifically. We post random nonsense from time to time, but more than often than not, you most likely hear me time and time again on the mic, either here at IPO or Down Production, CCA, Splatoon Journey. I'm literally all over the place. Specifically as well, tomorrow I will be live with CCA to bring a collegiate match for you guys for them tomorrow night. So be on the lookout for that if you're interested in that. But as we wrap things up here, one last shout out for Gamers for Giving that's coming up this weekend. Watch the tournament and donate if you can. But with that being said and done, we're all done here tonight, folks. I hope you had yourselves a good one, enjoying the show here, and take care of yourselves as we head off and sign off.
Yeah, see you everyone. Of course, thank you to Ryan for being our wonderful, wonderful streamer. Thank you to the TOs and all the staff behind the scenes. Make sure everything works out well. So, like Dark said, please, Game is Forgiving. Just support it. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And with that, that'll be it from us from IPL for this week. So, see y'all next time.